moments ago, and they tell 93.9 The Eagle there has been a collision with a transformer in this location, Providence and Paris Roads. Now, CPD has crews on staff directing traffic. You can expect traffic delays this morning. Avoid that area. Again, a motorist has collided with a transformer, Providence and Paris Roads. Jury deliberations will continue this morning in a few hours in a Jefferson City murder trial. A Cole County jury listening to closing arguments Friday in Juwan Worley's trial. Then they deliberated for 5 hours before adjourning Friday evening. They'll resume their deliberations this morning at 9. Worley was 16 at the time of the 2018 incident. He is charged with first-degree murder for the robbery and killing of Justin Camrich, who had a wife and 6 children. Prosecutors say a second victim was shot 3 times but survived. Defense attorneys say Worley is innocent, that he went to school and worked at Burger King that evening. Prosecutors say Worley's DNA was found on the weapon. A trucker who is under indictment for the December I-70 crash that killed a Boone County assistant fire chief is now in custody.
64-year-old Kevin Brunson of Kansas City has been indicted on 1 count of involuntary manslaughter, a Class C felony. The trucker was booked into the Boone County Jail on Friday afternoon, and his bond is set at $250,000. The deadly collision happened on December 22nd at the 135-mile marker just east of Columbia. The crash killed Boone County Fire Protection District Assistant Chief Bryant Gladney. While Brunson could be arraigned today, nothing is scheduled at this time. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
Don, thank you. Columbia Police need your help in solving a weekend shooting near Highway 63 in Paris Road. It seriously injured a male juvenile. That's according to the CPD authorities. The incident happening about 12:05 on Saturday morning. No arrests have been made. No suspect information. If you have any information, you're urged to call Columbia Crime Stoppers, 573-875-CHIPS. Columbia's current Ronald McDonald House on Lansing Avenue has been purchased by an organization that serves pregnant women and new mothers who are in need. St. Raymond Society co-founder Mike Henches, a Jefferson City native, spoke to host Fred Perry on 93.9 The Eagle's CEO Roundtable.
Primarily those that face unplanned pregnancies. We convey our support, which we focus on helping the woman after the child's born.
Now, the sale involved millions of dollars, according to Henches. The Ronald McDonald House on Lansing here in Columbia is about 8 years old. It has 18 bedrooms and a large kitchen. The SRS House in Jefferson City opened in 2012. The SRS House here in Columbia opened in 2014. You can hear Fred's full interview on our website, 939theeagle.com. And the popular Columbia Mall car wash is closed for remodeling. The car wash's answering machine says it will reopen as a club car wash at a later date. The message thanks Mid-Missourians for allowing the Columbia Mall car wash to serve them for the past 32 years. Again, it will reopen at a later date. That date has not been set as of yet. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you in the 6 o'clock hour by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning. For all your heating needs and cooling needs as well, log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:07. Turning our attention now to sports. The Cardinals back in action today, spring training baseball. The opponent, the Houston Astros, 12:05 today because it is a weekday game in spring training. We won't have it for you here on 93.9 The Eagle during spring training. It is just on the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. We're carrying the games. One other big note, Albert Pujols returning to the Cardinals after agreeing to a 1-year contract. Post-Dispatch first reporting the agreement late last night, saying the contract is pending a physical. Pujols 21 home runs shy of 700 for his career. Our sports brought to you this hour by Lacrosse Lumber. They have everything a contractor needs, but they're small enough for one-on-one good customer service. Lacrosse Lumber, Grindstone, just west of Highway 63, Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:08. And here is your forecast for the entire mid-Missouri listening area on this back-to-work Monday. It's going to be sunny today, our high 51. Cloudy tonight with a low near 41. Cloudy tomorrow on your Tuesday, a high of 68, much warmer tomorrow. And then storms and rain in the forecast on Wednesday and a high of 63 degrees. Right now here in Columbia, we do have clear skies, 36 degrees. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. Again, the Boone County Joint Communications telling folks to be prepared for some backup right now. Providence and Paris roads here in Columbia. There has been a collision with a transformer. CPD has crews on staff directing traffic. There could be utility crews on the scene as well. But again, someone has collided with a transformer, so be aware of that. Avoid the area if at all possible. If you want to report a traffic issue, call or text us 573-874-9390. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
The White House trying to make clear in the aftermath, or making very clear in the aftermath, he was not, in fact, calling for regime change.
And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people stand in the middle of front of a damn tank.
White House officials are telling us that President Biden does not intend to send U.S. troops into Ukraine.
If chemical weapons were used in Ukraine, would that trigger a military response from NATO?
It would trigger a response in kind.
The United States has no intention of using chemical weapons, period, under any circumstances.
Why do they put this guy out to keep representing you? When the White House just has to come back in and clean it up, have it again over the weekend. Biden with these strong words.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
I want to say something. I want to be honest here. Don't get mad. I agree with him. But there's some things you just shouldn't say out loud. There's a story recently, a mom and daughter in Florida. They got in trouble because the daughter had some people she wanted to go kill, some classmates she was being bullied by, and she wrote all their names down on a list. She got busted. There's some things we want to say, but then there's things you don't say out loud. And I think the majority of us would agree with what Joe Biden said.
Well, and there's definitely things you shouldn't write down.
You shouldn't write a
or document in any way.
list of people that I would like to kill. You don't leave any evidence, and some things you don't say out loud. Otherwise, people have to keep coming back and correcting you.
Well, and then it's no surprise then that close to half Americans now say that they're concerned about nuclear war with Russia, and you've got Biden out there saying stupid things like this out loud.
And so that's why this is important, because now when you're talking about Russia and the thing of nuclear war, this is why this matters. This is why we should be paying attention. It's not just because it's not the first time that they have had to walk back. They, being the White House, have had to walk back Biden comments. It happens a lot, and you start getting, and again, we said, what did we say this past Friday? Joe's going on the worldwide stage, and what was our mood Friday morning?
Nervous. This could go really bad for us.
And it did almost. My goodness. Before we get back into this, couple of things, traffic, because we're getting kind of some different reports. Providence and Worley, two folks saying there's traffic issues there, but then also Providence and Paris.
It's Providence and Paris.
Okay.
That's we're going with the information from Joint Communications. It's the same issue that they're talking about based on, I've talked to Joint Communications. It deals with a transformer that has been struck by a motorist. They have crews in that area, and you can expect some delays. Quite frankly, I'm surprised at these texts that we're getting that many, that the volume would be that much at this time of the morning. But when they have, and I assume at this point they probably have utility crews. They weren't sure of that at Joint Communications. But Providence and Paris, part of the problem here, the dispatcher also said Rogers, but see, the problem is the names of these streets change right in that area. So it's Providence and Paris. That is the area right now. But yeah, it's someone had struck a transformer, and if somebody has specifics on how bad the backup is, that would be good, because the dispatchers just said that they had traffic crews that are directing traffic, which tells me that there is it's heavier than normal, the traffic.
Yeah, if you can, please give us a call if you're in that area so we can get a straight story, because we have a couple of texts, and Bo trying to be very helpful. He says, He says it's Providence and Worley. That's where the truck hit a transformer. I responded, oh, sweet. I was in St. Louis to see my dad. I was texting several different people at once because we've been getting a lot of texts this morning. That text was meant for Sandy bragging about her weekend.
Good work.
And here's the thing. Worley and Paris are essentially the same road. They changed names right there. The police are saying Paris. It depends on what side of the road that is, but I think it's the same. It's right there. It should be right there at Douglas Park or near Douglas Park.
All right. So if you're seeing something, if you're there, 874-9390, 874-9390. So obviously yesterday, Washington, D.C. and all the national news outlet shows, you got all the Republicans coming out. What Biden said is dangerous. Biden said, for God's sake, this man cannot remain in power, which... it's true.
And that was ad-libbed. That was apparently ad-libbed based on some reports. You and I were here when that soundbite, you were putting it together, and it was all over the news. That story has basically been knocked off. If you listen to and watch the national TV coverage this morning, it's all about Will Smith and Chris in this joke or whatever. And this has kind of gone to the backside a little bit. But yes, apparently reports indicate that line was ad-libbed, that it wasn't in the
Was the slap when Will slapped Chris Rock on the stage, was that ad-libbed?
That I don't know, but it looked pretty real. And his anger looked pretty real.
Got
too.
two countries going at it, and Joe Biden is out there making light, saying this guy should not be in power, which I think wouldn't most of us agree. Yeah, we would like it very much if Putin was not in power, but you don't say that stuff out loud. It's like being married and your spouse comes to you, honey, do these jeans make my butt look big? You don't say it out loud. You don't say the truth. You don't.
Oh, boy.
Or you do say the truth. Yes, honey, your ass looks enormous in those jeans. What do? Do you say the truth? Do you say it out loud?
I don't know. That is completely up to
rude.
you. I just have learned
It's rude that a woman would ask.
You say, I like my girls really thick. It looks great.
I was going to say, I've learned to just not ask questions that you don't want to know the answer to.
Giddy up. But then yesterday, so then all the Democrats are coming out, and obviously, here's the thing that's getting me, though. We talk about the talking points. I want to play two different pieces of audio, one from Senator Cory Booker, another from Representative Ro Khanna. So this is Cory Booker.
Well, look, I think the administration has made it clear that the
administration has made it clear. That's after trying to clean up the comments. Representative Ro Khanna.
But I think the White House has been clear.
No, they have not been clear. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to go back and clean up Joe's mistakes.
Well, and the only, so in lawyering, if you're, having to write down, it is clear that X, then it's not clear because you're in court arguing about it. So I see that and I'm like, it's not clear. If it was clear, you wouldn't have to say it's clear. And so they're all trying, it's clear. Clearly, it's not.
By the way, it reminds me, I was listening back to our conversation with Columbia Public School Superintendent Dr. Brian Yearwood, which took place last year, in which he said succinctly, let me be very clear, we are not bringing CRT into local schools. We know now that was a lie, and I bring that up. He went before the Columbia Pachyderms this past Friday. We're going to have highlights from that, and I will say this, very nice man, very gifted storyteller, very engaging, answered some questions, but he was on this show saying, well, the teachers have these grants to see if they want to teach the 1619 project. We are not bringing it into schools, and he said those very words, let me be clear. Which is French for, I'm about to lie to you, but I'm going to say it anyway. That's the way I look at it. Although this will not affect your life a whole much, everybody's going to be talking about it. When I first heard the story, I don't watch the Oscars. Last time I watched the Oscars, I think it was like 1997. And I was a kid, man. I didn't know any better. But that year, 1997, I think it was the year Titanic cleaned up. Leonardo DiCaprio threw a fit because he did not win for Best Oscar, despite Titanic winning all these other awards. It was like 55 to 60 million people watched the Oscars that year.
Didn't he just win his first Oscar just a couple years ago?
Yeah, I think so. But he really threw a fit. He thought, well, I did such a good job in Titanic. I should have won. He didn't, and he threw a fit. It was like 55, 60 million people that year watched, and now there's maybe 10 million people watching the Oscars every year.
I watched the year Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga like snuggled up at the piano to sing "Shallow."
Okay.
That was a pretty good one, but it was very theatrical, which has me skeptical about what happened last night.
So last night, Chris Rock is making a joke about Will Smith's wife because she's bald, and he says, looks like she's getting ready for the part in G.I. Jane 2, which is hilarious. How many people knew? Did you know before that last night? Did you know she had alopecia?
I actually did, yes.
Did you know she had alopecia?
No clue.
Yeah, most people didn't know she has alopecia. Most people, damn, that's a funny joke, Chris. You're at the Oscars, you know you're going to get joked on. You're going to get ragged on. I thought it was a funny joke. Well, come to find out she has issues with alopecia. Apparently, Will Smith, who is seen in the crowd laughing at Chris Rock's joke, eventually comes up on stage.
That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow.
So, so when I heard this story, I'm like, oh, it's staged, it's fake. They are doing anything they can at this point to build up some kind of ratings. So they're going to do this. But I watched and like that didn't look fake.
No, so it was all over TikTok, of course. And some arguments that TikTokers were putting forward is that Chris Rock's face gets red right where he got punched afterwards. So they don't think it was a fake punch. And Chris Rock also didn't really have a good response for what happened. Like, he was kind of stunned for several seconds. And they said that if it was scripted, he probably would have had like a funnier joke ready to go right off the cuff.
Well, and you said it didn't look fake, but these are professional actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I did. I mean, they're professionals. That's what they do with their life.
Yeah.
And I think about the Lady Gaga Bradley Cooper thing, and everyone was speculating about their relationship, and then they had this whole like moment at the piano, and it was all like for show.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm still on the fence.
I think Will Smith is going to get canceled over this.
Really?
Not completely canceled, but they're going to try their best, right?
Well, then what I found, what was really interesting, so just minutes after he got up, and by the way, what dude ever slaps another dude? Who does that?
Some people said it was a punch, and some said it was a slap, but I can't figure out which one it was.
I think it was a slap. I think they said it was like an open-handed slap.
Who does that? When you're a dude and another dude, you don't slap a dude. Man, what kind of guy does that?
That's the big issue with this that you have found.
Then afterwards, Will Smith, just minutes after bitch slapping, Will Smith had this to say after bitch slapping Chris Rock.
I want to be a vessel for love.
What?
I want to be a vessel for love.
He just loves hitting people.
5 minutes ago, you went up and slapped a dude on stage.
Well, yeah, and he slapped someone, but then he won, so then he had to give a speech, right? Yeah. But he was kind of like emotional and already like apologizing, which that's a pretty quick 180.
LAPD confirming that Chris Rock refused to press any kind of charges against Will Smith. So that's what I know. I don't know who won Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Actor. Don't know any of that. But I know apparently Will Smith bitch slapped Chris Rock.
I wonder if Will Smith had his acceptance speech already written. And as he's up there, he's like, man, this didn't age well. I should have rehearsed something different.
I want to be a vessel of love, but I just smacked the heck out of this guy. Coming up, we're going to be getting into the daily D.C. rundown. What's happening in Washington, D.C. this morning, Stephanie?
Well, 2 cities are vying for the RNC convention. Who are they?
Where is Stephanie going?
Hey, it's Coach Gary Pinkel. I like to listen to Branden Rathert on Wake Up Columbia 93.9 The Eagle.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
That's Joe Biden getting us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell on 93.9 The Eagle.
Can you imagine if you worked for that guy and you were actually working in the administration and you saw that come across the TV? I mean, they were playing major cleanup after that.
Is it a lot of SMHing going on? A lot of, oh my God.
Yeah, so the administration people were I think somebody was saying that he was saying something like, we can't empower Putin, not that he can't stay in power. I mean, they're wordsmithing and trying to walk this back every which way. It's terrible, and it's right in line with what the Biden administration's been doing. He has 0 wins coming into the midterms, and this isn't helping him at all. You know, he had campaign promises related to voting rights, criminal justice reform, climate change, you know, and not to mention the failures in Afghanistan and at the border. But this is just, you know, kind of the cherry on top of his, you know, just utter failure as a leader.
And behind door 2, if he leaves.
And when folks vote, they order what they want. And in this case, they got what they asked for.
So then there's that.
Yeah, that's awful. Well, and so there's a new poll out saying that close to half of Americans say they're actually concerned that Russia would directly target the U.S. with nukes over some of these statements. And I think that poll, I think, was done before, I think, North Korea was testing missiles this weekend. And so people are really on edge and high alert. And I think it's because they've lost confidence in our leadership. It's horrible. The RNC also, I want to bring this up, is trying to pick a location for the next convention, and it's down between Nashville, Tennessee, and Milwaukee. And they're thinking maybe Nashville because the honky-tonks will appeal to white working-class voters. I feel stereotyped.
Sometimes the stereotype works, man.
I do like Nashville.
Coming up, a legendary Cardinal coming back to Busch Stadium, and I'm kind of conflicted about that. We'll have that coming up for you. Here at 6:35 on 93.9 The Eagle, Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer now reps a lot of what was formerly, is moving towards that, repping a district that was held by Hauswirth, still is. Change is coming. Blaine Luetkemeyer joins us 7:10 this morning. I have your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast. Sunny, 51 today. Some clouds overnight. Overnight low 41. So tomorrow, a few more clouds. But the good news is it's going to be a little bit warmer. Tomorrow's high close to 70. Then Wednesday, the rain comes in. Wednesday's high 63. Right now, we're at 36.
Fox News. I'm Chris Foster. Police in Los Angeles say Chris Rock declined to file a report after being slapped on stage by Will Smith at the Academy Awards.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
The show on ABC, Rock had just made a joke about Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head. She's been public about her hair loss from the autoimmune disease alopecia. Russian airstrikes hit another fuel depot in western Ukraine.
The trend is developing that the Russians are hitting the supply here in the west of the country while the fighting intensifies in the east. Russian forces are now in Ukraine, sort of in a semicircle that starts with Chernobyl, northwest of Kiev, all the way down and around to the town of Kherson, which is on the coast of the Black Sea.
That's Fox's Mike Tobin in Lviv, Ukraine. There are more in-person peace talks today in Turkey. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:31, 35 our current temperature right now in Columbia. We're expecting sunny skies. Today's high 51. It's certainly going to be chilly. Tonight, cloudy, a low near 41. Tomorrow, cloudy, and a high of 68. Chance of storms on Wednesday. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you at this hour. Traffic issues continue this morning as we speak near Providence and Paris in Columbia. Joint Communications telling 93.9 The Eagle there's been a collision with a transformer. CPD has crews on staff. They're directing traffic delays in that area. A Cole County jury will continue their deliberations in a Jefferson City murder trial this morning. Jury hearing closing arguments in Juwan Worley's trial on Friday. They deliberated 5 hours They adjourned Friday evening and late. They'll continue their deliberations this morning at 9. Bipartisan legislation requiring the Missouri Board of Pharmacy to recommend 2 hours of continuing education in suicide awareness for all licensed pharmacists will be heard this morning by a Missouri House committee in Jefferson City. The bill is called the Tricia Leanne Tharp Act. We'll have details on that for you coming up at 7:03 this morning. Her father founded Pharmacists Preventing Suicides Incorporated. CPS voters will be casting ballots in April on an $80 million bond issue. It would fund construction of a new $25 million elementary school in South Columbia. CPS Superintendent Dr. Brian Yearwood notes the district works with demographers and that a new development with about 500 new homes will be built in that area near John Warner.
We must not have overcrowded classrooms. We must have environments where our scholars are able to learn without, having to be pushed into a classroom that's crowded.
The bond money will also provide $2 million for safety and security enhancements at CPS. Passage requires 57% approval. News brought to you by MidAmericaMortgage.us. Our news time, 6:33. Turning our attention now to sports. Cardinal baseball today. Spring training action continues in Florida. 12:05 first pitch. It's the Cardinals and the Houston Astros today. Albert Pujols returning to the Cardinals. He has agreed to a 1-year contract. That's according to Derek Gould of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, the newspaper first reporting the agreement late last night, saying the contract is pending a physical. Pujols is 42 years old, 21 home runs shy of 700 for his career. National League Rook of the Year back in 2001. Our sports brought to you this hour by Missouri Heart Center, comprehensive cardiovascular care in the heart of Missouri, moheartcenter.com. Our news time, 6:34. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Midmohires.com. Find a job. Post your job opening today. Roads right now are pretty quiet overall. However, we still have this transformer that at least one vehicle is collided with near Providence and Paris. CPD still has crews on staff directing traffic, so avoid that area if at all possible. We'll get you another update on that for you coming up in our next newscast. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Albert Pujols is going to go down as one of the most productive hitters in Major League history.
He's been doing it for such a long time, posting the same line over and over again.
Base hit Pujols, his first hit in the big leagues.
Your first big league hit? Is it special at all?
First career big league home run. It will not be nearly the last.
If you ask me how he's going to start his career in St. Louis, you'd say, well, if it's a storybook, he did a home run.
Welcome to St. Louis, Albert Pujols.
Think they'll like him around here?
Folks, he is locked in.
Why are they pitching to him? Pujols has done it again.
I was in Florida whenever Albert Pujols left. Of course, he started here as a rookie, and some of us in mid-Missouri just fortunate enough. 93.9 The Eagle, we used to do these Cardinal caravans. So every year we bring in Cardinal players. We would do it right about January before the Cardinals go off to spring training, and we've been very fortunate. We brought in players like Harrison Bader, Colton Wong, and 1 year in one of those caravans, guess who it was?
Pujols.
Albert Pujols came through because they bring these rookies by, and a veteran that's, it's not a Yeti or Molina or somebody like that, but they'll bring in these veterans and then these rookies, and you always hope you score with these rookies. We've done this for several years at the Holiday Inn Executive Center. Of course, past 2 years, that's all been thrown for a loop because we ain't supposed to be hanging out and getting close to each other. Albert Pujols made his way through mid-Missouri some 21 years ago as a starry-eyed rookie that nobody at the time ever heard of. But by George, I hope people got some autographs from this real skinny, kind of lanky kid at the time.
There's no doubt about it. I remember him, and I'd forgotten. You bring up a great point. He was here in Columbia. I do remember him speaking the same year. It would have been 2001 at Moberly, at the Moberly Municipal Auditorium, and came through. And a couple quick things about him that really stick out. Number one, He got his opportunity back in 2001, if you remember. Bobby Bonilla got hurt. If it wasn't for Bobby Bonilla getting hurt, and by the way, Bobby Bonilla had this incredible contract. He got paid like another 15 years after that. He may
With the New York Mets, it's Bobby Bonilla Day in New York.
I mean, exactly. I mean, my goodness, he'd been retired for like 15 years. He was still getting paid. But Pujols came in and 37 home runs his rookie year. What I definitely remember about that, and the numbers may sound low compared to today, he took away the cleanup job from McGuire and Edmonds. One of them was making $10 million a year. The other one was making $15 million a year. That was absolutely incredible. And I want to say as a rookie, he was probably making $100,000 to $200,000 at low end. But amazing, and, a lot of history there. It did not. We talked off air. It did not end all that great when he ended up going to the Angels. There was some bitterness, and as I recall, his restaurant didn't last much longer after that. Some people were bitter, but based on everything I'm seeing, they were more than bitter. There's no doubt. Based on everything I'm seeing and comments on Twitter, people are excited he's coming back.
Because that hurt.
It did.
When he left. And I get it. You go out and you do what you do. But whenever I've been asked to go other places, hey, but we got this money and this stuff. Yeah, you got that. But you know what I got here? I got love, and I love this. I will stay here for, even if it's less advantageous from a financial standpoint, I will stay here because I have love for the city and the people I serve.
As long as they'll have you, right?
As long as they'll have me.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you get offers to go elsewhere, but there's something about love of community. People appreciate what you do, and then you give that love back. But for Albert, money, family, I don't know, and that's what you do. You go and you try to get paid as big as you want, and the money was more appealing than his because remember, he basically grew up St. Joseph, Kansas City, then played for the Cardinals. Yeah,
actually, he played exactly Fort Osage, and I remember him playing in the high school championships here in Columbia. Fort Osage High School, as I recall, it was Independence. But you bring up a good point. He may have been from St. Joseph originally, but he played at Fort Osage.
So we lose Tyreek Hill, but we get Albert Pujols.
It's pretty interesting.
Be interesting to see how it goes at Busch, because you know who the nicest baseball fans in all of baseball are?
Cardinals fans?
Cardinal fans. Always, even when it comes to the opposing teams, Cardinals fans, the classiest act when it comes to, every year Albert Pujols would come over the years, he'd get standing applause.
Right.
And so it'd be interesting to see how it goes. So I'm not overly excited, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but gosh, man, the guy's almost as old as I am now. So I'm like...
And there was always questions about his age, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
There was. People did speculate. He's officially listed at 42. There's always been. But here's the thing about him. He is still a danger anytime he gets to the plate.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question about it. And now that they bring in the DH, it could give him another opportunity. I think he's still dangerous at the plate. It'll certainly sell tickets. People will be excited about it. But we'll see what happens. But it is kind of neat in a way that we'll get a chance to see him again.
Yeah, I was just imagining. Think about the response. That first time he puts on the uniform and steps up to that plate, you can hear it. And I get that, feeling. Just already I'm feeling a little bit of chills. It's going to be a big moment for St. Louis. People are going to be really excited.
Especially when you're at Busch Stadium and you've got 45 to 50,000 like-minded people, and Albert Pujols is stepping up to the plate. And that's why we go to the ball games. That's why we go to comedy clubs, because it's this collection of energy and something that everybody is sharing, this singular thing, and it feels good. It's not just about watching the ball game, or it's not just about watching Kid Rock in concert. It's thousands of people that are surrounded by you, and you all feel this very same energy, and it's contagious, and it's spectacular. So Albert Pujols coming back probably would not be an everyday player. In times when the National League would allow the designated hitter, he'd go and be the designated hitter.
I would think so, and again, I don't. I'm speculating on that, but I think you're spot on there. It would be probably he had some outfield experience. He could probably still play a little first base, but his knees have always been, especially the last about 10 years, have been an issue. The Cardinals, by the way, have not won a World Series since he left. 2011, which, if you remember, they were down in that Texas Rangers series. But no, I agree with you. I could see him as a designated hitter, and But yeah, that's Derek Gould first reported that. Again, that's another story. Would have got a lot more coverage, but because of what happened at the Oscars, that's kind of been, it's gotten coverage, but not nearly as much as it would have without that.
By the way, I thought Chris Rock's joke regarding Will Smith's wife was funny. Let me ask you, did anybody know, did I already ask this question? Did anybody know that Will Smith's wife had alopecia prior to this? Anna did.
I don't know why I did, but I did.
You didn't?
I didn't know.
I didn't.
I didn't either.
I didn't.
And I thought it was a funny joke. So Jada Pinkett Smith is blonde and bald, and Chris Rock is on stage getting ready for her appearance in G.I. Jane 2. Now, remember back in, 90, 91, when Demi Moore did G.I. Jane, she shaved her head, and that was kind of like, whoa, in Hollywood, wow, look at what she did to do this role. So that's what that was a reference to. And I think everybody laughed. Even Will Smith was laughing, and I guess all of a sudden Will Smith remembered, oh, wait, maybe that's not funny because my wife has alopecia. But I'll tell... Because at first I'm thinking this thing was fake. They're trying to drum up ratings for the Oscars because comparatively nobody watches the Oscars anymore. And I don't blame. Number one, I was never into them. That's just for me. And number two, there's so many other different things to be watching on TV. And mostly I watched the Oscars because I was doing Top 40 radio at the time. And I had to come and let you know how Britney Spears and people like Leonardo DiCaprio did in these movies and Basketball Diaries. I had to watch because it was work. Otherwise, I've never taken a passing glimpse. But I remember 97, 98, I had to watch because of Titanic. Like 50 to 60 million people watching the Oscars. And I do remember it was a big thing. But watching a bunch of people award themselves any award show, whether it's music, country music, rock music, award shows just don't do anything for me.
So what's been interesting about the Oscars the past couple of years is they have not had a host. So this year they brought a host back, and this happened. So one of my first thoughts was, oh, I wonder if they're going to get rid of having one host again.
So they had three, Amy Schumer, Regina Ward, and Wanda Sykes.
This year, the Academy hired 3 women to host because it's cheaper than hiring one man.
Some of the Oscars last night. Anybody know any of the movies that won? No.
I mean, Will Smith won something, so whatever movie he was in, I don't know what it was, but
he wanted a get out of jail card. LAPD, seriously, they show up and talk to Chris Rock like, "Hey man, do you want to press charges?" And Chris Rock said no. I don't want to do that. Coming up on the show this morning, redistricting. By the way, I spoke with Sarah Walsh via text over the weekend, asked if she wanted to come on because she's in the House, and now before her, she gets the next take on this redistricting that was approved in the state Senate last week. Why that is really important, because what she is going to be working on directly affects her campaign. I spoke with her yesterday and said, hey, would you like to come on the show? And she's, well, I'd like to wait until we caucus Monday afternoon because right now we don't know how we're going to handle it, don't know what we're going to do, but I would wait until after that. So meanwhile, for most of us, we are going to meet, and some of us know who Blaine Luetkemeyer is. He is the 3rd District Congressman. He's going to be joining us at 7:10 in case you never really thought about what he had to say, because he's not my congressman. I pay attention to what Vicky says, not Blaine says. We're going to meet Blaine, talk about any behind-the-scenes info from this whole redistricting process. Plus, there is a redistricting lawsuit in the city of Jefferson City as it relates to the city council there. That's one of the other things that we're going to be covering here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9TheEagle.com. And new king of late-night TV, you've got Kimmel, Fallon. Who else do you have out there? Stephen Colbert. Who's the king of late-night TV? We'll have that coming up at 6:53 here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9TheEagle.com, where you can listen live to Wake Up Columbia. Here's the website. It is atterburysells.com. ATTRBERYSELLS.com. RRY, like a berry, AtterberrySells.com. You get down there and you will find some really cool stuff. Because is what they're doing. They are changing how these auctions are done. You know, we've got this image in our head. You get up at ridiculous 30 on a Saturday morning so you can go get a parking spot and then hang out into the car, and then you wait until the thing actually starts, and before you know it, it's a whole big long day. Not anymore with Atterbury Auction and Realty. You get onto the website and you can see what they have. Like right now, a downsizing household auction with a digital piano, golf collectibles, a grandfather clock, and you can go online. You can see all of this stuff, and then you can bid. There's also a preview, in-person preview. So you go for that day's preview. You can bid online. And then the online bidding ends Tuesday, April 12th. A lot of cool stuff. Crystal decanters, vintage lady watches, and other jewelry, an assortment of kitchen supplies, furniture. So you want to go to AtterberrySells.com. Check out the downsizing household auction. I think you're going to find some neat stuff there, and you'll like how they do things at Atterbury Auction and Realty Company. Check the website, AtterberrySells.com.
putting the fun in dysfunctional. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
Hello, I'm Dana Bash in Washington, where the State of our Union is, wondering if President Biden meant what he said. You're watching a special 2-hour edition of State of the Union.
Again, this epitomizes why this was so important, what Biden said over the weekend when he said Putin shouldn't be in power, which we all agree with him, but you don't say it out loud on a worldwide stage. That's dangerous. People start getting itchy, and you get other countries like France, who's mad at us again. The most polite people in the world, and the French are mad again.
I don't know that I would say that French people are the most polite people in the world, but yeah, it's not pretty when we've made them really mad, twice in 6 months?
And so it's so bad that State of the Union, to try to cover up Joe Biden's remarks, extended their show. Said, we're going to do 2 hours today. We got a lot of cleaning up to do. So, yeah, it continues to get that bad and that frustrating, and you can see the poll numbers. Stephanie Bell's already touched on some of those poll numbers this morning. Biden approval on economy gets clobbered. It's down to a record low every time you think it can't get any worse, and it does get worse for the guy. The White House spending the weekend trying to walk back Biden's comments regarding regime change, and they all got the same talking points. We're going to highlight some of those talking points coming up at 7:10. And one of the, although not as important, it's not going to get in the way of you paying your mortgage payment this month, putting gas in your car. But one of the big things people are going to be talking about this morning, Chris Rock legitimately slapped by Will Smith yesterday. Now, when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, okay, it was a ploy. It was a skit because ratings are poor. Nobody watches the Oscars anymore. I think back last time I watched 97 because I worked in Top 40 radio. I had to watch the Titanic, and it was between 55 and 60 million viewers, and that was, pretty common. I think there's 10 million people watching now. More people are watching the NFL. Remember, everybody got upset about the NFL and the players knew we're going to quit watching. It's about 30 million people that will watch Sunday night, Monday night football. 30 million people that will watch something between Sunday night and Monday night football. So it comes on basically 32 to 34 times a year. 32 to 34 times a year, Monday night, Sunday night football. 32, 40 times a year. We'll have over 30 million viewers. Oscars. 10 million viewers. Don't know how they did last night. And I don't know if it's the award show, if it's just changed, and especially over the past couple of years, we didn't go to the movie theaters. I don't know. I think award shows as a whole, whether like the Country Music Awards, they weren't even broadcast recently on TV. They
were streaming, but I loved that. I got to so many good music performances, but I would say it's been a while since I've seen a really good movie. And maybe I just have missed the ones that are out there, but I also feel like there haven't been a lot. Like, when's the last time there was a Titanic, a movie that swept the nation? I don't know. But I disagree with you. I do think some of the stuff last night could have been, I'm on the fence of whether it was partially staged or not. Because the last time I watched was the Lady Gaga thing. And, everyone was like, I think Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper are secretly in love. And then they had this beautiful piano performance where they snuggled on the piano bench and gazed into each other's eyes. And then afterwards they're like, oh yeah, no, that was all for show.
And that smack was hard, but again, they're actors,
professional actors.
Yeah.
And again, you pointed out something really weird. What
smacks?
What dude comes up to another dude and gives him a slap? That's so weird.
And it wasn't just the slap, but if you watch, it's it wasn't because if you smack a dude, you come up to it, but he was like open-handed, like your mom when you was a kid, like he was telegraphing that smack.
Yeah, I almost thought, you don't want people to get away, so I almost thought this hand was coming up to grab his shirt and then just another, you know what I mean? So he couldn't get away, but no, it was just it was a slap. It was like me when my kids misbehave, psh.
Backhand him. What kind of dude, especially who's been trained in boxing, he's been in a boxing movie, he knows how to box. What kind of dude bitch slaps another dude? That's just bizarre. Just bizarre. So maybe the deal is, and this is not too far beyond the realm of possibility either, I think. You say, hey, listen, Chris, I'm going to come up there and I'm going to smack you, and it's going to hurt a little, but we'll do it. And And then just before 7 o'clock, all the radio stations all across America are going to be talking about us.
I mean, well, and the other thing is, I mean, these actors, I mean, I'm sure, like, aren't like J-Lo's legs insured, and like Chris Rock's face might be insured, so you're less likely to do like damage where then you would have to pay this guy a bunch of money for, like, you know, messing up his face, I guess, with the slap.
JT says, I bet if Dave Chappelle told that joke, I bet Will Smith wouldn't have went up and slapped him. Dave Chappelle, a little bit more of a beefier dude than Chris Rock. Coming up at 7:10, 3rd District Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer is going to be joining us. If this redistricting moves forward, for a lot of us, he'd be our new guy.
A slap in the face. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
That's Chris Rock, who got attacked on stage at the Academy Awards on ABC after making a comment about Will Smith's wife, Jada's shaved head.
That joke coming at the expense of Pinkett Smith, who's open about her battle with alopecia, which causes hair loss. Will Smith eventually consoled by Denzel Washington and Bradley Cooper pictured there after that slap. Smith later apologizing to the Academy for the slap while accepting Oscar for Best Actor.
Hope the Academy invites me back. Thank you.
The actor getting a standing ovation for the tearful speech.
That's Fox's Todd Pyro. Will Smith won his Oscar for his role in King Richard. Jessica Chastain got Best Actress for The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Coda won Best Picture. There will be another attempt at Russia-Ukraine peace talks this week as the Russians drop more bombs on western Ukraine.
Lutsk has been hit because it's got an airstrip there, but this fuel depot is a new target, and it's the 3rd fuel depot to be hit in 2 days. Just the other day, you saw a great ball of flames as a fuel depot was hit here in the town of Lviv.
Fox's Mike Tobin. COVID cases rose slightly last week here in the U.S. after dropping 9 weeks in a row from the record Omicron surge, as another round of COVID vaccine shots may be coming for some of us. Fox's Evan Brown following this live.
Yeah, Dave, there are reports that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the Centers for Disease Control will give authorization to yet another booster dose of Pfizer's and Moderna's COVID-19 vaccination for people ages 50 and older. This would be shot number 4. This move comes as a subvariant of Omicron is becoming more prevalent. Both the FDA and the CDC's directors could issue the authorization without review or endorsement of their respective independent review panels, Dave.
China is trying to contain a COVID outbreak with a lockdown in the city of Shanghai. America's listening to Fox News.
After 9/11, Saul Martinez couldn't wait to enlist.
In Iraq, his vehicle was hit by a projectile improvised explosive device. Saul survived, but he lost both legs, suffered a traumatic brain injury, and lost 2 close friends. Saul now lives in a smart home from the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, which gave him back his independence despite his severe physical challenges. Help heroes like Saul. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Oh, won't you stick with me, baby? I'm going to make a lot of bread. I mean both money and actual bread. But right now I need dough, 'cause my delivery truck's dead. And by dough I mean money. Trucks don't run on bread.
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but with personalized discounts that save you money, Progressive Commercial keeps you humming along. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I need more dough. Need with an N. I need more dough. Need with a K.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
.939 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:03 right now. Sunshine 34 is our current temperature. We are expecting a beautiful day today, albeit on the chilly side. Sunny, today's high 51 degrees. Cloudy tonight with a low near 41. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you. At this hour, I just got off the phone again with Boone County Joint Communications, and they tell me that the CPD officers are still directing traffic right now. Providence and Paris, it's the same road basically, but Providence and Worley would be the official road there. A pole has been hit by a motorist right now. They've had to actually take the power down to work on this transformer, if you will, and that's why the lights are out. There is CPD staff on hand, at least 1 or 2 officers directing traffic, and it is backed up right now, so you can expect delays. The pole again struck by a motorist. This happened about 5:45 this morning, so avoid that area if at all possible. A trucker who is under indictment for the December I-70 crash that killed a Boone County Fire Assistant Chief is now in custody.
64-year-old Kevin Brunson of Kansas City has been indicted on 1 count of involuntary manslaughter, a Class C felony. The trucker was booked into the Boone County Jail on Friday afternoon, and his bond is set at $250,000. The deadly collision happened on December 22nd at the 135 mile marker just east of Columbia. The crash killed Boone County Fire Protection District Assistant Chief Bryant Gladney. While Brunson could be arraigned today, nothing is scheduled at this time. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
Don, thank you. Jury deliberations will continue here in about 2 hours in a Jefferson City murder trial. A Cole County jury listening to the closing arguments on Friday in Juwan Worley's trial, and then they deliberated 5 hours before adjourning. They'll resume deliberating at 9 this morning. Worley was 16 at the time of the 2018 incident. He's charged with first-degree murder for the robbery and the murder of Justin Camerich, who had a wife and 6 children. Prosecutors say a second victim was shot 3 times, survived. Defense attorneys argue that Worley is innocent, that he went to school and was working at the Burger King that evening. Prosecutors say Worley's DNA was found on the weapon. Again, deliberations continue at 9 this morning. Legislation aimed at increasing education in suicide awareness for licensed pharmacists in Missouri will be heard by a House committee in Jefferson City this morning. The bill is known as the Tricia Leanne Tharp Act. It's sponsored by St. Charles Representative Adam Schwadron. The representative tells 93.9 The Eagle that Ms. Sharp took her own life at the age of 31. His bill states the Board of Pharmacy shall recommend 2 hours of continuing education in suicide awareness and prevention for all licensed pharmacists. Columbia's current Ronald McDonald House on Lansing Avenue has been purchased by an organization that serves pregnant women and new mothers who are in need. St. Raymond Society co-founder Mike Henches, a Jefferson City native, made the announcement on 93.9 The Eagle CEO Roundtable to host Fred Perry.
Primarily those that face unplanned pregnancies. We convey our support, which we focus on helping the woman after the child's born.
That sale involves millions of dollars, according to Mr. Henches. The Ronald McDonald House on Lansing is about 8 years old. It has 18 bedrooms and a large kitchen. You can hear Fred Perry's full interview on our website. It's 93.9theeagle.com. Popular Columbia Mall car wash is closed for remodeling. The car wash's answering machine says it will reopen as a club car wash at a later date. That message thanks Mid-Missourians for allowing Columbia Mall car wash to serve them for the past 32 years. I have a photo along with this story on our website. It's 939theeagle.com. And fast-growing CPS is now Missouri's fifth largest district with 18,500 students. CPS Superintendent Dr. Brian Yearwood expects that to grow to 20,000 in the next decade. He outlined an $80 million bond issue in detail on the April ballot, spoke during a Friday presentation of the Columbia Pachyderm Club at Dickey's Restaurant. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you this hour by The Candy Factory. The Candy Factory is in downtown Columbia. You can find them online, thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News time, 7:07. In sports, St. Louis Cardinals will play today again during spring training. Their opponent will be the Houston Astros. 12:05 is the first pitch today, our time, 1:05 in Florida. Albert Pujols returning to the Cardinals. He has signed a one-year contract that first reported by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Pujols is now 42 years old, 21 home runs shy of 700 in his career. National League Rookie of the Year back in 2001. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch reporting that contract is pending a physical. 93.9 The Eagle Sports brought to you by Tiger Towing. When you can't get going, call Tiger Towing, 573-449-3754. TigerTowing.com. 93.9 The Eagle News time is 7:08. Here's your forecast for the 93.9 The Eagle listening area on this Back to Work Monday. Sunshine. It'll be cooler, much like this weekend. Our high today only 51. Cloudy tonight, low near 41. Tomorrow is Tuesday, much warmer, almost 20 degrees warmer, a high of 68. And then rain in the forecast on your Wednesday. Could see some storms. Primarily, this is going to be a morning system coming through about the time we're doing the show on Wednesday. Rain with a high of 63 degrees. Right now in Columbia, we do have the sun trying to rise right now, 34 degrees. And our traffic check is presented by MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job. Post your job opening today. Again, Providence and Worley, someone has hit a pole in that area, and it's affected a transformer. The transformer may have been hit as well. Boone County Joint Communications saying CPD has been out there since about 5:45 this morning. They are directing traffic, had to cut the power off, and traffic is backed up. So avoid that area if at all possible. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
The White House trying to make clear in the aftermath, or making very clear in the aftermath, he was not, in fact, calling for regime change.
And you're going to see when you're there, some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people stand in the middle of front of a damn tank.
White House officials are telling us that President Biden does not intend to send U.S. troops into Ukraine.
If chemical weapons were used in Ukraine, would that trigger a military response from NATO?
It would trigger a response in kind.
The United States has no intention of using chemical weapons, period, under any circumstance.
More comments walked back over the weekend after Joe Biden said, my God, that guy can't remain in power. But don't most of us, seriously, we agree with this, I think, right? We all agree with it. We agree with what he said.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
It's just one of those things you ain't supposed to say out loud, like when you're at the Thanksgiving thing and Aunt Judy's got some facial hair. You don't talk about it. You don't. You know it's there, but you just don't say it out loud, because then the parents got to, oh, little Branden, he's 4 years old. He doesn't know what he was talking about. Forgive him. That's what the White House is doing to this 4-year-old Joe Biden. He continues to say stupid, not only stupid, sometimes dangerous things. Matter of fact, right now I want to bring in U.S. Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer, reps 3rd District in Missouri. If this map situation that we saw come out of Jefferson City comes out last week, moves forward, he will now rep a large portion of Boone County, just like he used to do. But Congressman, first talk about these gaffes, sure, it's fun for people on the radio to, Joe said something stupid again, but these latest comments, talk about why this matters and how important this is.
Well, thank you, Branden, for having us on this morning. And, it's very concerning because the rest of the world watches what we do, what our leadership says, how they act. Anytime you just sort of nod your head or make a reference of some kind, there's a lot of parsing of those words and a lot of guessing of what that meant by all of the folks around the world. We're the leader of the world, or used to be anyway. And so when our leadership says things, people listen. They watch what goes on. And so our present president, who is struggles with his words, struggles with his ability to actually communicate in a way that it gives the rest of the world comfort. He just shoots from the hip, and he thinks he's cool by doing that, which he may think he's cool, but he really upsets a lot of stuff. And this last trip that he had, it was damage control almost every day from something that he said. He just keeps popping off, and there's consequences to that. And I don't disagree. We need to change the leadership in Russia. That'd be great. Hopefully, we'd find somebody that's less confrontational and more willing to work with the rest of the world. But when you go out there and say that in the middle of a war, which is going on in Eastern Europe, there, that just incites more situations that we really don't want to get into. So, he needs to be more aware of what he's doing and clean up his act a little bit. And he's got to do a better job of being a president instead of a comedian.
Well, and you and your friends in Congress are taking a more measured approach, and there's lots of legislation kind of out there to deal with Russia. I guess recently you introduced the Sanctioning Putin's Enablers Act. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, we've had a number of bills that we've signed on to and sponsored and co-sponsored, and basically we're trying to get his economy in a corner so that it cuts off his financing, so it cuts off his ability to fund the war. It's kind of hard to do when you're buying 22 million gallons of $22 million worth of oil a day from him. We've hopefully got that shut down here, but this president doesn't seem to want to go down the road of being energy self-sufficient ourselves, continue to buy gas and oil from other despots around the world. In doing this, he keeps funding the very war that we'd like to see, sanctioned and stopped. But the sanctions are working. Quite frankly, I've never been a big fan of sanctions until Donald Trump put them on, and Donald Trump was a master at using those and making sure they worked. He actually got a lot of play out of those sanctions. He really got a lot of changes as a result of, and behavior as a result of those sanctions. So when you get the rest of the countries in the area that you're trying to sanction another country to go with you, it's a very useful tool. Biden has finally got there with his sanctions. Again, he was late to the party on this, and this is what some of the bills are for, that to approve those actions, continue to do those things, continue to shut off the oligarchs, continue to shut off the banks, continue to stop doing trade with Russia. Those are some of the things that we're trying to do with these bills.
Congressman, we appreciate you joining us live on the program. As always, good to hear from you. I know the Missouri Senate has approved a map. It goes back to the House, probably going to take it up today, maybe tomorrow. But that Senate map that has been approved adds Boone as well as Cooper and Montauk counties to the district, and we'll have to see if the House will keep that in there or not. Right now, your district has 13 counties. And I know you've been busy with everything. Have you had a chance to take a look at that proposed map, and what is your impression of basically adding Booneville, Columbia, and California into your district?
Yeah, and I think we also pick up Crawfordtown around Cuba down there as well. We lose some other good folks. It's a part of the process. It's not in my hands. We just do whatever happens here. It'd be nice to be able to have a more centrally, centric district, but it's going to be whatever it is. But I look forward to whatever comes out of it. I hope it's done quickly. I hope the House doesn't make any changes, but if they do, I hope it's minimal so that we can get this thing passed and move on. my greatest fear is that they start tinkering around with it in a way that the Senate then wouldn't pass it down the road a second time, and then you wind up going to the courts, and that's concerning because I think everybody loses. The people of the state of Missouri lose. I know we're going to lose big time in Washington by putting some more House seats at risk here in Missouri. It hurts our majority there, or a possibility of maintaining our majority in Washington. And people don't realize how narrow our margin is in Washington right now. We're out of the majority right now by 75,000 votes. We've got about 41 swing districts that just a few votes one way or the other will swing those districts back and forth. And so whenever the political winds change, our ability to hold the House changes right with that. And so when they start tinkering around with these maps in a way that makes some of our districts more vulnerable, it just lends itself to us losing the majority or not being able to maintain it. I've been there now this will be my third cycle this fall whenever the pendulum swings back our way. And so in the next 10 years, which is the cycle for these redistricting maps, I can't believe that it's not going to swing again. So if you're not prepared for it, if you keep tinkering around with the maps, you could endanger the majority. And then when that happens, the conservative principles that these people all are hollering about are out the window because you can't do much whenever you're in the minority in Washington.
Did you work much? By the way, our guest is 3rd District Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer. If we were under the new map that will go before the House today, which is an entirely different, interesting story because Sarah Walsh is going to be taking this up today. And she's running for the 4th Congressional District seat. This directly affects her. She has power in the House. I asked her over the weekend if she wanted to come on. She wanted to wait until she met with her caucus this afternoon. So that's interesting there. And then we've got the Nebraska GOP congressman who resigned following felony conviction. So one less conservative in the U.S. House of Representatives following the resignation of Jeff Fortenberry. But I want to ask you this specifically as it relates to the people here, because it's kind of a weird district. It's cutting right through Boone County. More specifically, it's slicing right through City of Columbia limits. Did you want to, let's say, we got a bunch of folks listening this morning. Well, I've never paid attention to who the congressman in the 3rd District is. You want to take a minute and kind of introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for that. No, I represented all of Boone County the first 4 years I was in office from 2009 to 2012. Then redistricting took Boone County and put it in the 4th instead of the new 3rd. And I'm from St. Elizabeth, which is a small town south of Jefferson City, Lake of the Ozarks. I've been in business down there I was a bank examiner after I got out of college, and I was in the banking insurance business for about 30-plus years. I also raised a lot of hogs and cattle for about 30 years as well. Then I was a state rep from that area for 6 years, and I was the director of tourism for a couple of years, state of Missouri, and have been in Congress since 2009. So, right now I'm on the Financial Services Committee. I'm one of the senior members on there. I'm a subcommittee chair of the Financial Institutions Subcommittee, which oversees all the banks and credit unions and all of the folks who regulate those, FDIC, Comptroller, Federal Reserve, and those folks. And I'm also the top Republican on the Small Business Committee, which has got some problems, and we can get into that if you want to, but we've got some real issues with the Small Business Administration that we're trying to fix right now and work on, which is kind of fallen in my lap since I'm the leader of the Republicans on the committee. So,
well, and I think that's a good spot to be in because here, me personally, and I know most of the people here within the circles of the Wake Up Columbia family on 93.9 The Eagle, we talk about we got to bring in a big factory and create 4,000 jobs. No, it's small businesses. Small businesses, the backbone of the Missouri economy, specifically the backbone of the mid-Missouri economy. So we need to do all we can for these small businesses. We could sit here and chat for a while, but Hannah, the producer, won't let me because I'm running behind. Congressman Luetkemeyer reps the 3rd District. Anything that you would like to add before we... Oh, did you watch the Oscars last night?
I did not watch the Oscars last night.
Points in my book. Anything else you would like to add before we let you go?
No, just appreciate the opportunity with you guys this morning. Look forward to doing it again. Look forward to representing Columbia, Boone County, and the area of Central Missouri here if that works out. We'll just see what happens this week in state legislature in Jeff City.
All right. Oh, and another question. So behind the scenes while they were putting these maps together, Were any of these people, the lawmakers in Jefferson City, like calling you or Vicky or Jason Smith or Sam Graves, calling anybody and saying, hey, this is what this map is looking like? Did you guys have any off-the-record say?
Well, I can tell you that during the discussion of the 7-1 map, I never got one single call, which is kind of interesting because I'm somebody who lives and works in that swamp, and I think I could probably add a little bit to their discussion if they just asked the question. But they didn't call at all. So since then, they were working on some of the other maps. They've contacted us and see if there's concerns about some of the maps. But basically, it's in their lap. They're the ones who make these decisions, and they're the ones who have to, work with all the other folks. You got state reps to work with, you got local county officials to work with, city officials, and so we'll see what they come up with.
All right, Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer, if there's something that we can do here, Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert on 93.9 The Eagle, you let us know, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you. Take care. Have a great week.
You too. Coming up, we are going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah. What's smoldering today?
I've got more supply chain shortages that I'm heartbroken about.
Facetiously?
Yes.
Doctor for my car. They've been knowing my car, my exact same car, for 5 years. And I really like that because they know the car, they know its idiosyncrasies, and they know how to work on it, and they know what I want, and they know what I don't want to do to it. And that's important because I have a relationship. It's not some guy in the back and then the service manager comes up, here you go, here's what we did. I am dealing with the people directly when I go through Gap's Automotive Repair Shop. It's important to me. Gap's Automotive Repair Shop, Vandiver in Columbia and in Boonville.
This is the show people are talking about. Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. 93.9 The Eagle.
And I myself, if it comes back to it, when I return, I will smelt mine in public.
Sean Penn saying if the Oscars don't invite Ukrainian president to the show, he's going to smelt his Oscars in public because people care that much about Sean Penn and his Oscars. Some of these people they've just completely lost sense with reality. People don't care that much about you. Nobody's, oh my God, Sean, don't melt those. Don't smelt your Oscars. Nobody's that concerned about that stuff, as apparently people not concerned about watching actors pick up awards that they are handing out to themselves for the one night of the year. And the one big thing people are talking about, it's not who took home the most awards. It's not what they're talking about.
The slap heard around the world.
Slap heard around the world. And it seems to be legit. So Chris Rock makes a joke about Will Smith's wife. Will Smith gets up on stage and open-handed slapped him. LAPD confirming that Chris Rock chose not to press any charges against Will Smith. 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:29.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
This is the latest round of... Excuse you.
Sorry.
Bless you. This is the latest round of food shortages, and I'm concerned now because the pizza rolls are in short supply. Pillsbury and Totino's have come out and said that their pizza products and their refrigerated dough products are like the latest thing of shortage. And I don't know if you tried to buy like canned biscuits lately or cinnamon rolls, but they're almost always out of stock. So it was a little sad to see that pizza rolls are now lumped in with that. I don't know how I'm going to survive.
This is where our age differences really come to play because I haven't eaten a pizza roll in a really long time.
One of the things I've done, I'm like, whatever I have in my pantry and fridge, that's what I'm using to cook. I'm just like getting rid of last night, can of chicken noodle soup with chili beans in it.
Ew.
Gross. Are you kidding?
Have you tried it?
Ugh.
Have you tried it?
I wouldn't.
Have you tried it?
I have not, but I don't like beans.
Have you ever had like it's white chili? That's what it was like. It was like white chili. So I'm just trying to get rid of everything before I go and buy more groceries. Right now, I have your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast. Sunshine, 51 today. Clouds, 41 tonight. Tomorrow, good news, a little bit warmer. We'll get close to 70, but we're going to see more clouds with that. Then Wednesday, rain. High of 63 right now, checking in at 37. Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler unleashes one of her first campaign ads, and it's a doozy.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Will Smith wins Best Actor at the Oscars after earlier going on stage to slap comedian Chris Rock for making a joke about his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.
I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to all my fellow nominees.
The award ceremony on ABC. Coda wins Best Picture. Jane Campion, Best Director. Jessica Chastain, Best Actress. More Russian missile strikes and shelling are reported in several cities around Ukraine. More in-person peace talks are planned in Turkey.
Russia has pivoted to centering their demands on the east of the country, the Donbass region, that Ukraine recognize the independence and they give up that land bridge to Crimea as well as control of Crimea or a claim to Crimea. Ukraine has formally offered a guarantee that Ukraine won't join NATO and they want a full withdrawal of Russian forces.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Lviv, Ukraine. Russia took over control of the Crimean Peninsula in 2014. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. 80 sunny, 34 right now in Columbia. Going to be a nice day today, albeit on the chilly side. Sunny, today's high 51. Cloudy tonight, low near 41. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you at this hour. We're still having traffic issues this morning near Providence and Worley in Columbia. Boone County Joint Communications telling 93.9 The Eagle a motorist has hit a pole, a collision with a transformer. CPD has crews on staff directing traffic. They've actually had to take the power out right now, so the crews are directing traffic by hand, if you will, Traffic backed up. Expect some delays. Columbia police say a male juvenile who was shot this weekend near Highway 63 in Paris Road suffering serious injuries. The incident happening early Saturday morning about 12:05. Investigators from CPD said the victim was taken to a local hospital for treatment. Investigation continues. No arrests have been made. A Cole County jury will continue deliberations in a Jefferson City murder trial this morning here in about 90 minutes. The jury hearing the closing arguments in Juwan Worley's trial Friday. They deliberated for 5 hours before adjourning. They'll continue their deliberations this morning at 9. Worley charged with first-degree murder for the robbery and killing of Justin Camerich in 2018. Columbia Public Schools voters will be casting ballots in April on an $80 million bond issue. It would fund construction of a new $25 million elementary school in South Columbia on the Warner campus. CPS Superintendent Dr. Brian Yearwood notes the district works with demographers and that a new development with about 500 new homes will be built in that area.
We must not have overcrowded classrooms. We must have environments where our scholars are able to learn without, having to be pushed into a classroom that's crowded.
Passage requires 57% approval. News is brought to you this hour by Dr. Kent Willett Dental Associates. Make an appointment now, 573-445-5300, WillettDentalAssociates.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:33. In sports, Cardinal baseball today in spring training. The Cardinals taking on the Houston Astros. 12:05 will be the first pitch today. And congratulations to Juan Harris, the young man from Columbia Rockbridge. What a player he has been. KU heading to the Final Four. Very impressive game yesterday for DeJuan Harris. Of course, played his high school ball right here in Columbia. And Albert Pujols returning to the Cardinals. He has signed a one-year contract with the team. Pujols now 42 years old, 21 home runs shy of 700 in his career. That agreement pending a physical, according to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job or to post your job opening today. Again, traffic backup. The one area that's been problematic since we got in this morning, about 5:45, at least one, possibly two motorists hitting a pole in a transformer, if you will, at Providence and Worley. In Boone County Joint Communications says there are still staff on scene directing traffic right now, so avoid that area if at all possible. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
It's times like these you learn.
For the Foo Fighters dying over the weekend, doing a tour in Colombia, and apparently had some chest pains. What we know now this morning, apparently he had weed, antidepressants, benzos, opioids, among other things in his blood system. 50 years old, very talented drummer. I heard a friend of by the name of Beasel, who used to be here in the Zimmer building, and he was totally into music. And he said the thing with watching Taylor Hawkins drum, like he was the guy like at a like you would see at a bar on a Friday night just jamming in a local band. Didn't care where he was, doesn't care what stage he was on, just cared that he was drumming in the beat. Dying at the age of 50, played for the Foo Fighters for a really, really long time. Welcome into the show. This is Wake Up Columbia. Stephanie, any highlights from your weekend?
It was cold on the soccer fields on Saturday mornings. I know. We've got a lot of Wake Up Columbia family members who I see out on the fields. Tons of parents. I mean, I don't know how many people play soccer, but if you want to know where people are on Saturday mornings, it's at the soccer fields. But it was that wind whips through there. I think it was like 37. I had gloves, a hat.
It's windy.
It was miserable. It took me a couple hours to de-thaw after that. So I'm hoping next week it's warmer.
Steph, didn't you say that your 5-year-old asked to go home like before the game even started?
Oh, she did. She did. And I'm so glad she was there because I used her as like a human blanket. I'm like, oh, please sit on my lap. It's so cold.
Mom, I don't want to play anymore.
And it was sad. No, well, she wasn't playing. She just had to watch. But she said, I want to go home before the game even started. I looked at her and I was like, me too. Me too.
No, is your kid one of those you guys make them play soccer? They don't want to. Yes, you're going to go do this. And then they're out in the cold, freezing wind. Is it like that or no?
No, all my kids want to play.
They choose to.
Oh, yeah. The two who were actually playing were super excited. This was the first weekend they've played, and so they were pumped to be there.
Hauswirth, highlight from your weekend.
Had a lot of things to get caught up on, but I'd say one thing kind of tying in with Stephanie, I did get out and get a little exercise, took a couple of nice walks, loved the breeze, got some golf in. And
did you go golfing? That's right. You live on a golf course, don't you?
I do.
You stud.
And found a number of golf balls. It's probably about the last weekend I can go into the woods and find balls that are out there. But it was cold. I had 3 coats on. Couldn't putt very well, but at least I got the exercise. That's important.
Good for you, man. You look good this morning, bud.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Hannah, what was the highlight of your weekend?
I spent basically the whole weekend in Centralia. Got to go to a wedding. And got to see a lot of family and friends that I haven't seen in a while.
Right.
Friday, I went to my dad's, kind of last-minute thing. It was one of those things like, I needed my dad, rough week.
Nothing wrong with that.
I know, but it was like last minute. Usually I plan on going there and hadn't been there for a while because Joe Biden. It's Joe Biden's fault. I can't see my dad as much anymore because gas.
And your moonroof.
And my moonroof. Nah, I'm sure I can find a way to pin that on Joe, too. But calling my dad, I'm like, Dad, can I come see you today? Because I had a hard week dealing with stuff with my mom and other stuff. So he says, sure. So I get up there. I don't know. I get up there about 6 o'clock, and I walk in the house. Oh, Dad. And then had a family friend come, and then I laid down on the couch and fell asleep by 7 o'clock. Didn't wake up till 7 o'clock the next morning. Wow. But here was the cool thing. So I wake up, and I'm like, man, Dad, I'm sorry. He says, no, I get it. And I said, so did you grill those steaks that were marinating last night? He says, no, I didn't. He says, do you want me to grill them for breakfast, 7 o'clock in the morning?
Gosh.
And I said, yes, I do.
What like a dude thing to do, right?
Yes. And he said, do you want some steamed broccoli? Do you want some potato? Nope. Just steak. And my dad, by George, he went and broiled a couple big, hefty steaks. And me and him sat there eating steaks.
And it had more time to marinate, so I'm sure it was really good.
It was phenomenal.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it was the highlight of my weekend. And I think one of the other things that kind of struck my fancy, Albert Pujols coming back to the St. Louis Cardinals, according to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And I'm kind of conflicted about this. I know it hurt whenever he left the St. Louis Cardinals. He grew up in Missouri for the most part, played ball outside of Kansas City, came up through the farm system. Some people were lucky enough when we were doing a 93.9 The Eagle Cardinal Caravan, which we used to do every year. Then you know what happened a couple of years ago.
What happened?
He was on one of the Cardinal Caravans, and the cool things, they bring these rookies, and you never know. Sometimes you get a gold nugget, and one year it was Albert Pujols. He used to be, oh, yeah, Albert Pujols. Nobody had heard of him. He was a rookie. But, man, if you got an autograph from that kid on the 93.9 The Eagle Caravan, worth a lot of money today. So folks around here got to meet him. Of course, he went on to be a superstar for the St. Louis Cardinals. Last game was that Game 7, 2011, and probably the greatest World Series ever played.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in Texas when the Rangers were the huge favorite in that World Series, if you remember. All the hitters they had on that team, there's no doubt. I do remember Pujols coming to Moberly in 2001 at the Municipal Auditorium. He spoke at the Caravan there. I also remember, Branden, and some of our listeners may remember this, when Mark Lamping was trying to get, and it was an uphill battle to try to get the new stadium. In fact, they ended up having to pay quite a bit of that stadium themselves. But they were trying to get the state to chip in quite a bit of money, and he brought a lot of the players down. Lamping did in, as I recall, was April. It would have been March or April of 2001. Pujols, LaRussa, Jack Buck came, J.D. Drew. There were others. I don't remember everybody, but I do remember Pujols going to the Capitol, and a lot of people didn't know him at the time. It was still very, very early, but I think they had a day off that day. But yeah, it's a big deal, and people seem excited about it. And it's worth noting that when he left, I specifically remember people were bitter, and his restaurant did not. His restaurant was out at Westport Plaza, out at 270, and that would out be 270 and Page out there where Worldwide Technologies is now. And it restaurant didn't last much longer after that.
I was one of those who was bitter too. It's like, man,
No.
yeah,
You wouldn't be bitter.
bitter. And I get it. You have free choice, but I'm a big fan of loyalty, and I guess he was more loyal to money than he was to his adopted hometown. So he's coming back, and here's one of the cool things that could happen. St. Louis Cardinals have never had this. He could top the 700 career home run mark. Now, the majority of those were with the Cardinals. Not all of them, but the majority. So he could hit 700 home runs, maybe sell some tickets this year. So it'd be a 1 year, maybe a farewell deal. And I will say this, Cardinals have a good recent history of bringing some of these, I was almost going to say elderly, but older players back into the fold and squeeze in the. I'm older than he is, and I'm calling Albert Pujols the old guy. So maybe something a little bit to get excited about this morning here on 93.9 The Eagle.
It'll be kind of fun to see Pujols and Yadier Molina kind of share a field for a season.
Because they basically they came up together, so it'd be cool if those two could get together during the upcoming St. Louis Cardinals season. Be able to hear that here on 93.9 The Eagle. Coming up 8:10. I do hope you'll join us. There's a guy by the name of Chris Cook, Pastor Chris Cook, Parkade Baptist Church. He just got back from Poland. He was there in Poland helping Ukrainian refugees. He's going to come in the studio and share some of the stories of what he saw and what he experienced. Firsthand account. And also want to see, I always find it fascinating. You see people that go to these places and they come back and they bring back different stories than what you will actually hear on the news. In other words, we see the news, we see what's happening there, but from just regular Joe Schmoes, they get to see what's happening. They're kind of in it. So it'll be interesting to hear from him. Trump giving a rally over the weekend, teasing again.
The truth is, I ran twice, I won twice, and I did much better the second time. And now, we just may have to do it again.
Maybe, not saying I will, not saying I won't, and I still wonder how much sway he would have in a presidential election. Obviously, me included, would be super excited to see him run again. Don't know how that would work out for him. More Trump news. Made a hole-in-one during a round of golf Saturday. But I love, how the news outlets, they don't like him. So the headline, Trump made a hole-in-one during a round of golf Saturday playing partner claims.
There's no proof.
Right. You just got to have that claim. He claims that. More Trump news. This is provable, and it is true. Trump PAC has more cash on hand than the National Democrats and Republicans combined.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
That's a bunch of cash. Somebody from, I can't remember who, I don't know if it was Ronna McDaniel, somebody from the RNC criticizing a bunch of folks in the Republican Party over the weekend for going on YouTube and purposefully saying things that they know would get them booted off of YouTube. And she's saying, listen, we can't do it. Hannah, can you shut up? Actually, can you shut off our YouTube feed for just a minute here?
Yeah. I was waiting for you to tell me.
Now we're back on YouTube, and thank you for watching on YouTube. We appreciate that. You can watch every morning. Just go to YouTube, search 93.9 The Eagle, and you can watch live. You can also watch live on Facebook. So coming up, 7:53, some of those things about Biden. And this is not to pick on Biden. This is to show, like, if you're listening this morning and maybe you voted for Biden, or maybe you're thinking about voting for Biden again if he lives to the next election. But we want to make sure that we understand what's going on and what it means, what he I got to work with them one day. Well, I do a lot of work with them, but actually out in the field, coveralls, gloves, and raking on a septic tank. And I'll tell you, it was nasty, which is why I appreciate what they do even more, and which is why you should appreciate them, especially if you have a septic tank. Here's the big thing. If you're on a septic tank, you got to keep it maintained. You don't keep it maintained. I mean, how often do you think about your septic tank? Maybe once in a while the stuff starts to bubble over in the yard and the grandkids are over in their Easter best on a Sunday, and all of a sudden it's not their Easter best because look, somebody did not maintain the septic tank. Well, that's not when you want to call Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting. I mean, you can for an emergency like that, but you want to call them like today and say, hey, I want to be put on some kind of program, okay, so that those kinds of things don't happen. And that is what they specialize. Find Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting online, pro-pumping.com.
You're listening to Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert on 93.9 The Eagle.
I want to be a vessel for love.
3 minutes later, he was on stage slapping another man. You know, as a dude, if some dude came, a dude could come up. This is a guy thing, and I think any guy could relate with this right now, but Hannah, Stephanie, give you some insight. A dude could come up and punch me, whether I deserved it or not.
You probably deserved it.
Could come up and punch me, and I'd be like, dang, that was good. All right. And I might try to hit you back. I doubt it. If a dude were to come up and open hand slap me, I'd kick his...
Whatever.
Absolutely.
Don't be such a dude about this.
No, seriously.
You would not.
Absolutely, I would ask any dude out there. If you get punched, be like, okay, that's one thing. If you got slapped, and ask any dude this, 874-9390, I think as a dude, you would react harder to being slapped. Not that it hurt, because now you look like a girl.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's almost, I've heard people say similar things about spitting. Like, if you, go ahead and punch me in the face, but do not spit at me or spit on me, and that will hack people off. And I think slapping it's more of like a personal, ego thing.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, why would you slap someone?
Why would you assault somebody in public with millions of... You assaulted somebody. Thank goodness, I guess, in Will Smith's mind, Chris Rock denied pressing charges last night at the Oscars. Does anybody know which movie won for Best Actress? Best Supporting Actress? No. Best Movie? Does anybody know who slapped Chris Rock?
Yeah.
All right. 874-9390. David, welcome into the show. What can we do for you? He could have been prosecuted anyway. As a matter of fact, Chris Rock denied. He decided not to press charges, so he could have been charged either way. All right, David, thank you. We appreciate you taking a part in Wake Up Columbia.
I almost think it would have been better if Will Smith kind of would have charged him, and then, Chris Rock would have, recoiled, and then he could have just been like, yeah, and then just, walked off. That would have been better. To watch how Chris Rock was scared of Will Smith as opposed to just the open hand slap. I think that was weird. And then he slapped him. It was pretty hard. And then Chris Rock just moved on.
Chris Rock took it like a champ.
Yeah.
Will Smith should have just won Best Actress. A real man punches. Thank you, Gene. Dwayne, I'd much rather be punched than slapped. Blaine, absolutely. Sandy agrees. She would I don't know if Sandy would rather be punched than slapped. But yeah, it's a thing. You slap a dude, that is way, way worse than getting punched. Coming up, April the 8th. So it's not this April. Coming up next April, it's the
April the
8th.
Yeah, next weekend.
Next Friday. Thank you. I'm glad you guys are in charge. Coming up next, Feel Good, Friday, April 8th. Boone County Lincoln Days. Go online. You search Boone County Lincoln Days. I think we're up to 15 confirmed office holders, 17 office holders and candidates that are going to be at this thing. It includes dinner. Whole bunch of really smart, insightful people there. As a matter of fact, I would encourage you, if you've never done this kind of thing before, maybe make this your first event where you go. It's a way to get involved, meet other people, meet the people that are your elected servants, meet the people that want to be your elected servants. This past Friday at the at the Columbia Packeter meeting, several people were there for the first time ever. They showed up, said, hey, I just want to see what's going on. And the speaker happened to be Superintendent Dr. Brian Yearwood. Hauswirth and I have highlights of that coming up at 8:35.
Smith won his first Oscar, but this will be more memorable. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth. I'm going to, okay?
That was right after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock in the face.
Wow, dude. Yes. It was a G.I. Jane jump.
At the expense of his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, who has a shaved head because of a hair loss condition called alopecia. Later, Will Smith was back on stage on ABC accepting the Best Actor Oscar for King Richard.
Thank you for this honor. Thank you for this moment.
He tearfully apologized to the Academy and the other nominees, but not to Chris Rock. All of that upstaged all the other Oscar winners.
Coda was the night's big winner with 3, nabbing Best Picture, Adapted Screenplay, as well as Supporting Actor for Troy Kotsur.
To my mom, my dad, and my brother Mark, they're not here today, but look at me now. I did it.
Dune picked up 6 awards, including Best Cinematography. Jessica Chastain took home Best Actress for her role in The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Fox's Michelle Polino. It's day 33 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and while the bombing continues, the negotiating may resume another round of peace talks.
We have entire cities in ruin now. The civilian death toll is in the thousands. One Ukrainian negotiator says the talks could start as early as today in Istanbul, Turkey, but Ukrainians insist this is not about surrender.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Lviv. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's in Israel, his second day for talks about the U.S. attempt to rejoin the Iran international nuclear deal with Israel opposes that. Blinken also offered condolences for the death of 2 Israeli police officers killed by gunmen in an ISIS attack.
No family should have to experience such loss.
Well, the day after Blinken's talks with Israel's Prime Minister Naftali Bennett's tested positive for COVID. In China, another COVID lockdown to quell an outbreak, this time in the biggest city, Shanghai. Millions of people told to stay home. America's listening to Fox News.
On 9/11, America and the world made a commitment to never forget. Since then, it's been the Tunnel to Towers Foundation helping us to honor our words with action. So many people gave their lives while saving others on 9/11. Tunnel to Towers carries forward that legacy of courage and heroism by honoring our country's military and first responder heroes, people who are willing to die for you and me. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
I miss my baby, someone stole my baby. By the way, my baby is my landscaping truck that was literally stolen from a job site. Baby, won't you please come home?
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but with 30-plus customizable coverage options, Progressive Commercial keeps your business humming along. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I love my sweetheart. By the way, that's my riding lawnmower.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:03. We do have some sunshine right now in mid-Missouri. It is chilly. 34 is our current temperature. We're expecting sunshine. Today's high 51. Cloudy tonight with a low near 41. Tomorrow cloudy and a high of 68 degrees. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you in this 8 o'clock hour. Legislation that is aimed at increasing education in suicide awareness for licensed pharmacists in Missouri will be heard by a House committee in Jefferson City today at about 11:30. The bill is known as the Tricia Leanne Tharp Act. It is sponsored by St. Charles State Representative Adam Schwadron. Representative Schwadron tells 93.9 The Eagle that Ms. Sharp took her own life at the age of 31. The bill states the State Board of Pharmacy shall recommend 2 hours of continuing education in suicide awareness and prevention for all licensed pharmacists. Meantime, an organization that serves pregnant women and new mothers who are in need has purchased Columbia's Ronald McDonald House. It's located near Keene. It's on Lansing Avenue on the east side of Columbia. St. Raymond Society co-founder Steve Smith spoke on 93.9 The Eagle CEO Roundtable this weekend.
The Ronald McDonald people were awesome to work with. Very thankful. And you know, what a treasure they are in our community as well.
Smith says the sale involved millions of dollars. He says the Ronald McDonald House on Lansing has 18 bedrooms, a library, and a large kitchen. It opened about 8 years ago. He and host Fred Perry note Columbia's Ronald McDonald House will be moving to a new location closer to the new Children's Hospital location at University Hospital here in Columbia. Much more on this. You can hear the full interview with Fred as well as Steve Smith, Mr. Henches, 93.9 The Eagle .com. A trucker who is under indictment for a December I-70 crash that killed a Boone County Fire Assistant Chief is now in custody. He is Kevin Brunson, who was taken into custody and booked on Friday afternoon about 2:30. He could be arraigned at 1:30 today on the video docket. Jury deliberations will continue here in less than an hour, about 55 minutes, in a Jefferson City murder trial. A Cole County jury listening to closing arguments Friday in Juwan Worley's trial. They deliberated 5 hours, then adjourned on Friday night. They'll resume deliberating at 9 this morning. Worley, you'll recall, was 16 at the time of the murder in 2018. He is charged with first-degree murder for the killing of Justin Camrich, who had a wife and 6 children. Mr. Camrich worked for the Missouri Department of Corrections. He was a corrections officer. Prosecutors say a second victim was shot 3 times, survived. The defense says Worley is innocent, that he went to school that day and worked at Burger King on Christie Drive that evening. But prosecutors say that the DNA of Worley was found on the weapon. Fast-growing Columbia Public Schools, CPS, is now Missouri's 5th largest district with about 18,500 students. Superintendent Dr. Brian Yearwood spoke Friday afternoon to the Columbia Pachyderm Club about the bond issue, and he announced that he expects that to grow to 20,000 in the next decade. Dr. Yearwood notes the April bond issue ballot measure would provide $25 million for new elementary school on the John Warner Middle School property.
This projection in mind, we must ensure that our spaces are conducive to, learning, teaching, where the teachers can actually be able to rotate around the room.
CPS enrollment has increased by more than 1,500 in the past decade. Dr. Yearwood outlining the bond issue in detail during the presentation at Dickey's. If approved, the bond issue would also fund a $15 million addition and renovation at the Columbia Area Career Center. Much more on this, 939theeagle.com. And the popular Columbia Mall Car Wash is currently closed for remodeling. We don't know when it will reopen. The car wash's answering machine says it will reopen at some point as a club car wash at a later date. Their message is thanking Mid-Missourians for allowing Columbia Mall Car Wash to serve them for the past 32 years. I have a picture of the Columbia Mall Car Wash along with this story, 939theeagle.com. News is brought to you live this morning by the Callaway Bank. The Callaway Bank has a dedicated customer care team. You can call or text them 7 days a week. Callaway Bank is with you for the moments that matter. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:07. Turning our attention now to sports. Albert Pujols returning to the Cardinals after agreeing to a 1-year contract. St. Louis Post-Dispatch first reporting the agreement late Sunday night. They say the contract pending a physical. Pujols now 42 years old, 21 home runs shy of 700 for his career. He won the National League Rookie of the Year in 2001. Cardinals spring training action again in action today. Houston Astros the opponent, 12:05 today. And congratulations to Columbia Rockbridge product DeJuan Harris out of Columbia Rockbridge. He'll be heading to the Final Four with the Kansas Jayhawks as KU wins their game yesterday against the University of Miami. Our sports is brought to you this hour by the Callaway Bank. They're with you for the moments that matter. News time, 8:08. And our forecast on this back-to-work Monday. Partly sunny. Today's high around 51 degrees. Cloudy skies tonight, low near 41. Cloudy tomorrow, high of 68. Wednesday, rain and a high of 63 degrees. Could see some storms on Wednesday morning. Those projections and models continue to change. We'll keep you updated on that. Right now in downtown Columbia at Sanborn Field as well, both 34 degrees, sunshine. It's 8:08. Our traffic check is with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. We've had problems all morning out at Providence and Worley due to a pole and transformer being hit by at least one, perhaps 2 vehicles. If you want to, and the traffic is still tied up out there as they directing traffic by hand. CPD still on scene. If you have any information on that or anything else, our phone number 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
It is not the war that is far from American across the ocean. It is not. It is the battle for freedom. It is the fight for the same important things that Americans always stand for.
That is Maria Wade talking to KOMU Channel 8 recently, born and raised in Ukraine, Odessa, Ukraine to be exact, but now calls Jefferson City home, and I thought she just put that so beautifully and so succinctly. This is somebody who lives here where we live. She says, this is not about a battle for land or anything. It's a battle for freedom. The thing that I enjoy here in the United States, that's what's at stake in Ukraine, and we've tried to cover the many ways that what's happening right now in Ukraine affects us. So gas prices, obviously, that's one.
Are terrible. We have local folks who are over in Europe who are being moved around, people in the military. We're not real sure where everyone is, but it's definitely impacting their service.
You have people here that have family there that are waking up every morning trying the best they can to get them somewhere where they're in a spot where they can at least communicate via text. So these things are all happening. One gentleman, his name is Pastor Chris Cook, Parkade Baptist Church, just got back from Poland. He was at the Poland-Ukraine border helping folks. Pastor, welcome into the show. How are you today? Thanks
I'm
for being
doing
here.
good. Thank you for having me this morning.
Glad you could be here. I think an interesting story. How did it get to be where you went to Poland?
Well, originally I was supposed to go to Ukraine. I was scheduled to go to Ukraine the first week in March and do a leadership conference with some church planners that we support. And then I was going to stop in Poland after that trip to Ukraine. But on February the 24th, whenever Ukraine was invaded, that changed. And my Polish friends said, come and stay with us. We can use you. And so that's how I came about just going to Poland rather than Ukraine.
So what did you do in Poland?
Well, I taught a conference of church leadership students there at the seminary in Warsaw on Saturday, March the 6th. But then I had about a week and a half after that I just assisted the leadership there in Warsaw working with the Ukrainian refugees that were coming across the border.
So tell us, what did you see?
Well, I saw there were a lot of help centers. By the time I arrived there on March the 3rd, there were many, they called them help centers across the country, especially primarily on the eastern side of Poland, that were receiving Ukrainians. And they were church buildings. I worked with the Baptist Union there in Poland, and many of the Baptist churches there had turned their buildings. They'd literally flipped their buildings from a church building to help centers. I literally saw them, just push pews out of the way and put mattresses down and use all of their rooms in the church buildings as storage areas. And they were just busy taking care, night and day, taking care of Ukrainians. They would bring these Ukrainian refugees into the church buildings and keep them for 2 or 3 days. And while they were there, they would work hard to try to find Polish families who would keep the refugees like for weeks, maybe months. And so that's what I saw while I was there.
All right, our guest is Pastor Chris Cook, Parkade Baptist Church. Just got back from Poland, aiding Ukrainian refugees there. Kind enough to join us in studio. So you're on the border. How far from Ukraine were you where you're doing the majority of this work?
Well, I was in Warsaw, which is a couple hours away from the border. The first evening when I arrived, I actually went out to the border and was standing on the border with Ukraine. And it was late at night. We saw a few Ukrainians come through, but primarily I was located in Warsaw. But it was a very, Warsaw is kind of like the hub, being the capital city of Poland. So there was a lot of supplies flowing into Warsaw from various parts of Europe. I saw big trucks come from, Germany and Ireland and other places of Europe, and they would come to Warsaw and they would distribute their goods. And then the Baptist Union is located in Warsaw, and that was the hub. They would bring supplies to the Baptist Union, and from there they would be dispersed across the nation there in Poland to the various help centers.
So I'm guessing you had an opportunity to chat with some of these new Ukrainian refugees that were just coming in. What were some of the stories?
Well, one of the stories, it was kind of heartbreaking for me, was there were probably about 80 to 100 Ukrainian refugees staying there in Warsaw, where I was staying at the Baptist Union, because it's a seminary with bedrooms, classrooms, and they had really converted that into a help center, as well as kind of a hub. And I would go down during the afternoons and have lunch with the Ukrainians, and I would eat with them. And one of the first days that I was there, I struck up a conversation with a young, she was an older teenager, but she was from Ukraine. And most, I don't know Ukrainian, I don't know Polish, but most of them know English really well.
Okay.
So I struck up a conversation with her, and I asked her about where she was from, and she told me she was from the middle part of Ukraine, and her dad worked at a nuclear power plant somewhere there in Ukraine, which we've heard a little bit about some of the concerns about the nuclear power plants there. But she had just come across the border a few days earlier. And I asked her about her family and, what she thought about her future. And she said, well, I'm going to have a birthday in April. And I'm hoping that all this will be over so I can go back for my birthday in April. And I thought to myself, as an outsider seeing this, I don't know that it's going to be possible to go back. What's there to go back to? And so it was just heartbreaking that, I could hear it even in her voice. She was kind of shaken up. I could almost feel like she was traumatized, but she was holding out that hope.
Hope that she'd be able to go back, but from what with news reports and...
Yeah.
She's not going
back, Man. And so that was kind of heartbreaking. But while I was there, I saw the Ukrainians, they're hardworking people. And I saw them do a lot of volunteer labor. I saw them out raking leaves, cutting trees. And, Poland, I was really impressed with the Polish because I think of all people, they know what it's like to be invaded. Even if if you're living in Poland, even if you weren't alive during the 1939 invasion, and many of them were not, they've heard stories. I've heard one woman who grew up in Krakow, Poland. She said, my grandma was alive in the 1939 invasion. And she said, I grew up hearing stories that, my grandma, whenever the Nazis invaded Poland, they hid in the forest. And then she said, when we returned, our house was burned. And so the Polish have grown up hearing these stories. Another friend of mine who's there at the Baptist Union in Warsaw said that his grandma was a part of the Polish resistance in Warsaw. She had an illegal radio that she was hiding and helping the resistance movement. And he tells that story as though, it was yesterday that his grandma was doing this. So the Polish people are really fired up. They know what it's like. It's a part of their national memory, this invasion back in 1939. And so I think that is kind of the catalyst that's fueling their desire to help the Ukrainians. And so I saw them opening their homes, flipping their churches into help centers, pulling out all the stops, literally, to help the Ukrainian refugees. And in turn, I was seeing the Ukrainians coming in saying, what can we do to help you?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Our guest is Pastor Chris Cook. Parkade Baptist Church just got back from Poland where he was aiding numerous Ukrainian refugees.
Pastor, and thank you, Branden. Phenomenal descriptions that you're providing, kind of painting the picture for our listeners who weren't there. As far as the Parkade Baptist Church, what else is the church? What else are your parishioners doing? Are you trying to raise money? Is it coats? What is it that the folks need? Probably all of the above.
Well, we work through the Future Leadership Foundation, which is a network of churches and church leaders. Our primary goal is, of course, to develop leadership among American church leaders and international church leaders. But during this period, because we've got relationships in Poland, Ukraine, Lithuania, Moldova, and several other countries like that, we are raising funds, and we are using our partnerships to funnel that money. As of this weekend, I think we've raised about $300,000. And we just give it to our partners that we trust. We've developed a relationship of trust, like the Baptist Union in Poland. And I think we've been able to give them $50,000 or $60,000, and they're able to use that money as they need to buy food, supplies. When I was over there, they were buying they needed washers and dryers to take care of the refugees.
So there's some things that we might want to reach out to Parkade Baptist Church if we want to help. Our guest is Pastor Chris Cook, who just got back from the Poland-Ukrainian border.
So you talked about the young girl who was hopeful, but when people are talking about the situation, especially the Ukrainians and the Polish in general, and they talk about Putin, Are they angry? Are they fearful? I mean, what's the overall sense about, what's going on?
Well, I think there's a lot of fear and anger. I think you hit it right there. Those two emotions I could sense. On the side of the Polish, there was a lot of adrenaline. I asked the Polish if they were afraid that they might be invaded, and what I got was, well, it's in the back of our mind, but our focus is on taking care of the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians coming across the border, I really didn't talk to them about, what they thought about Putin, but they're hurt. They're some of them, like this young girl, I think she's traumatized. She's trying to process this. But I know the Ukrainians, and I've spoken with some of my Ukrainian friends since the invasion, and they're very angry. They're very angry, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to promote their freedom.
If you can hang out for just a few more minutes, I want to find, because we've all been enthralled by these stories of apparently people, just the people, not just the military of Ukraine, but just people, regular folks like me and you, just doing whatever they can and fighting hard to protect not just their land, to protect their freedom. Might ask you to talk about that. If you can hang out for a few more minutes. Our guest today, Pastor Chris Cook, Parkade Baptist Church, telling us about his time on the Poland-Ukrainian
People are talking about Branden Rathert.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain powerful.
This is Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
Welcome into the show. Our guest right now, Pastor Chris Cook, Parkade Baptist Church. He just got back from Poland. He was helping Ukrainian refugees. One of the things that we keep seeing on the news is the spunk and the passion. Nothing I don't know that I've ever... I see it every 4th of July. Here in America, we wave the flag, shoot fire rockets, and we talk about and we sing, the Star-Spangled Banner. But with these people in Ukraine, I mean, where does that zest and beyond that love of country? It's extraordinary.
Well, they've had their freedom since 1991, and that was a big deal whenever when the Soviet Union fell. Under the Soviet Union, they could not teach in their native language, Ukrainian. They had to teach in Russian. And so when freedom came in 1991, that was a big deal to those people. And I was fortunate to be over there in 2015 following a revolution they had in Kiev where they ousted their president because the president of Ukraine at that time wanted to sign an alliance and a pact with Putin in Russia, and the people did not want that. So they literally ousted him. And I was walking through downtown Kiev, and I got to see the aftermath of that. And they were rebuilding the cobble street stones because the Ukrainians had actually dug up the stones in the street and used those as projectiles during that revolution.
So use them to throw or actually jamming them in weapons? And
well, they knew how to make weapons, firepower weapons. And they told me the stories of what they did to defend their freedom and oust their president. So as early as 2015, when the Russian separatists took over that eastern region, I could see the fire in the Ukrainians. And when I was over there, they were actually upset that the new president that they had elected had actually given some local authority to those eastern regions of Donetsk and the Lugansk region to the Russian separatists to let them do some self-rule. They were upset with their president for that.
All right. Less than a minute. Anything else that you would like to add? I think some fascinating stories about the humanity that's taking place in the fight of the Ukrainians.
Well, my time in Poland was very it was very well spent. Poland is like the heart of Europe, and Ukraine, even though they're very determined, they need a lot of help. And right now, the heart of Europe is beating strong. And I think Poland will be kind of the primary hub, and I'm just grateful to be a part of partnerships both in Ukraine and Poland to be able to help what's going on over there.
Pastor Chris Cook, Parkade Baptist Church, thank you for what you do, and thank you for taking time out of your day to come in here and share some of that story, share some of the story of the Polish people that are helping and some of the stories of the Ukrainian, helping to bring that home on a more real level. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, Dr. Brian Yearwood, superintendent in Columbia Public Schools. This guy went to a Columbia Pachyderm event on Friday. Thought it was a very, very good move. What did he talk about? What happened there? We'll have some highlights, and then we'll continue to look in this mayoral race in Columbia and another redistricting battle, this time in Jefferson City. That's coming up at 8:35. I have your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast. Today, sunshine, high 51. Then tonight, some clouds making their way into town. Overnight low 41. So tomorrow, we're going to have more clouds than what we'll see today. But the good news is our high is going to be close to 70. And then Wednesday, rain, but decent temp-wise. Wednesday's high is going to be 63. Right now, it's 36.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Will Smith wins the Oscar for Best Actor a half hour after going up on stage to slap Chris Rock for a joke about his wife during the ceremony on ABC.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it.
G.I. Jane's main character shaves her head in the movie. Jada Pinkett Smith shaves hers, she says, because she has alopecia, an autoimmune disease that makes her hair fall out. President Biden today is expected to propose a new minimum tax on America's wealthiest families, 20% on the full income.
Information released by the White House Budget Office says the move would cut projected budget deficits by more than $1 trillion over the next decade. The minimum tax being proposed would effectively prevent the wealthiest people in the U.S. from paying lower tax rates than those who think of themselves as middle class.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. White House Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre tests positive for COVID-19 after returning from President Biden's trip to Europe. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is sunny right now, 35 our current temperature in Columbia. It's going to be sunny. Today's high 51, the overnight low 41 degrees. Good morning, everyone. Here are some of the stories we are working on for you at this hour. Here in about 29 minutes, a Cole County jury will continue deliberating in a high-profile Jefferson City murder trial.
Closing arguments on Friday in Jawan Worley's trial, then deliberated for 5 hours before adjourning. They'll resume their deliberations at 9 a.m. Worley, who was 16 at the time of the 2018 incident, is charged with first-degree murder for the robbery and killing of Justin Cameridge, who had a wife and 6 children. Prosecutors say a second victim was shot 3 times but survived. Defense attorneys say Worley is innocent, that he went to school and worked at Burger King that evening. Prosecutors say Worley's DNA was found on the weapon. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
Don, thank you. Meantime, Columbia police say a male juvenile who was shot this weekend near Highway 63 and Paris Road suffering serious injuries. It happened Saturday morning about 12:05. CPD investigators say the victim taken to a local hospital for treatment. Bipartisan legislation requiring the Missouri Board of Pharmacy to recommend 2 hours of continuing education in suicide awareness and prevention for all licensed pharmacists will be heard at 11:30 this morning by the Missouri House Health and Mental Health Committee in Jefferson City. Representative Adam Schwadron will testify today about the proposed Tricia Leanne Tharp Act. More on the bill we link to at 939theeagle.com. And the popular Columbia Mall car wash closed for remodeling. Their answering machine at the car wash says it will reopen as a club car wash at a later date. News brought to you by Hemi Construction in Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:33. In sports, Albert Pujols returning to the St. Louis Cardinals. He has agreed to a 1-year contract, according to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. First to report this late Sunday night. They say the contract is pending a physical. Pujols is 42 years old, 21 home runs shy of 700 in his career. He was the National League Rookie of the Year back in 2001. Cardinal baseball spring training action today, 12:05. First pitch our time. The opponent today, the Houston Astros. And the Cardinals lost their game yesterday, lost both of the games over the weekend in spring training action in Florida. Sports is brought to you by Witt Print Shop, where your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:34. Traffic check, MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job. Post your job opening today. The roads are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. We've had a major issue today. I shouldn't say major, but it's been kind of a problem area all day, starting about 5:45. It's been tying up traffic, still is right now, and that deals with a transformer and a pole hit at Providence and Worley. They're still out there working on that transformer and the pole that were hit. So if you can avoid the area, if at all possible, if you're going through there, you can expect some delays. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Meet William Thomas, ranked number 462 in men's swimming. Meet Leah Thomas, ranked number 1 in women's swimming. Only one problem. It's the same person. Some people are afraid to talk about it. Not me. I'm Vicki Hartzler. I ran and coached girls track, and I won't look away while woke liberals destroy women's sports. Women's sports are for women, not men pretending to be women. I'm Vicki Hartzler. I approve this message.
It should, but I doubt that it will settle the argument. Well, you're transphobic. You're against. No, you are completely wrong. It's about fairness for these little girls. I mean, who, by the way, remember, girls haven't been playing sports as long as boys because it was out of the norm back in the day. Like in 1955, you'd have Little League boys baseball. You didn't have organized girls softball. You didn't have female sports in high schools. And now they have that, and now trying to taint that. And so I think Vicky Hart's are trying to set that record straight. Listen, this is about being fair to our daughters and granddaughters. That's what it's about. It's not being about transphobic. But again, as Stephanie always points out, she's very complimentary of the way Democrats wrap their messaging up in Christmas paper. Oh, you're transphobic because you don't want somebody saying they're a dude to play girl sports. They're good at that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it is a difficult issue for a lot of Republicans because I think a lot of Republicans or many Republicans have shifted their issue on gay marriage and gay lifestyle in general. I think, there could be differing views about trans, and I think this sport, I think you can, be accepting of gays and gay culture and that kind of thing, and still have an issue with this sports thing because it does take away from women. And so I think for a lot of Republicans, it's hard to kind of square those things, saying, I'm fine if you want to have gay marriage, do your thing, but then still be able to protect women's sports and protect things like scholarships for high school age women who, if we go into an all gender type sports thing, it'll eviscerate scholarships for young women. And so for so many women, that's an opportunity, to go get a better education that would only be available to them with the scholarship money. So it's a hard issue to talk about, but it's nice to see Vicky Hartzler talking about it in a way I think that makes sense.
Crystal clear. And I don't mean crystal clear in the White House way. When they say they're crystal clear on issues, they say they're crystal clear after they spend an entire weekend cleaning up Joe's comments about we got to get Putin out of there. And we've been very clear on this, except when Joe talks about it. But it's to be clear, this is about being fair. Nobody is saying just because you don't want a dude playing in girls' sports, don't let anybody tell you it means you're transphobic. That's not what it is at all. Superintendent of Columbia Public Schools, I got to give Brian Yearwood, Dr. Yearwood, some points. Showing up at the Columbia Pachyderm meeting this past Friday. Want to get to some highlights there, but first, want to chat with Gerald real quick at 874-9390. What's up, Gerald?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Well, I was just going to comment on that. When I was in school, there was a big push for what was called the Title IX, and it was equality for girls. At that time, it was high school, so it was girls and boys sports. So girls had to have the same amount of sports and participation ability as boys. And so I actually supported that. A lot of the guys did. We all said, we want softball, we want women's basketball, we want all that. We want more sports opportunities for girls. And this, to me, is going against that. And it's totally the opposite of what my whole life. I actually gave up a wrestling thing because there wasn't enough girls' sports, so we had to go to a different school. Anyway, that's my opinion. I mean, it's not that I don't support those people.
Yeah, exactly.
In their decision to do whatever they want, but when they want to participate in something else, that's when I draw the line. It's like I will appreciate you doing that or get married, whatever, but I'm not going to celebrate it with you, and I'm not going to put somebody else out of a position just so you can have one.
Doesn't mean I dislike you as a human being, and that's the way the progressives try to paint it, and you get that, and it shows the lack of forethought, the lack of intelligence on these people. Say, well, you don't want boys playing in girls' sports. It shows their ignorance when they say it, because that's not what it's about. What it's about is protecting. The whole thing that you wanted to do for years, protect women and little girls. And these people that are going off in this argument, it shows obviously the lack of intelligence. Welcome into Wake Up Columbia. I am Branden Rathert, joined by Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, Hannah, the producer. I got to give points, Dr. Brian Yearwood, Superintendent, Columbia Public Schools, who I still say in my mind, he lied on this show a year ago. I am not for CRT in schools, and he said that the teachers got grant money from the Pulitzer Prize Project. We asked him why. He said, well, to explore whether, then why, if you don't want to bring it in, why are you allowing these teachers to take this money and do it? And we know now by the assignments that we get in here, that we get texted and emailed to this, CRT does happen in Columbia Public Schools. They are lying to you. They have been lying to you. There is no class, no book that says CRT. And by the way, got another text this morning. Branden, I'm confused about where to vote on local elections. School board, at the very least, it's Andrea Lisenby. and Adam Burks. But I got to tell you, Dr. Yearwood, and I talked to him before when he was first considered a candidate for the job. Very engaging, very smart, very gifted storyteller. It was a nice time. There were a couple of things.
You know, it was one of those things, Brandon. I was there, and I know you were there at Dickey's Barbecue on Friday. And CRT, and again, there were tons of questions. There were a lot of questions about, him making his comment to us about he would have driven a bus. A lot of questions about that, about the bus driver shortage. We learned he can't because you'd have to be a Teamster to do that.
So is what happened at one time. He said, if there's a shortage of bus drivers, I'll drive a school bus. And there was a parent there who had kids that were affected by this. And why didn't you drive a bus? And I think the take was, I kind of said it in funness. Legally, I could not drive a bus.
That's right, and but that kind of gives you some idea. People were all over the map on questions, but really he was there to talk about the $80 million bond issue. He talked about the growth, and I kind of break it down in detail about how much growth we've gone up by 1,500 in the past decade. It's going to go up by about another 1,500 in the next decade to 20,000. But people were engaged. He got an ovation. But he also, few people interrupted him at times. The moderator had to tell people, please don't interrupt, let him finish. But they want to have him back to talk about CRT and other issues there. And the only other kind of highlight from it off this particular topic that I thought was interesting, and Brandon, you mentioned that they're lying about the CRT or whatever. And again, I don't know that, but people, he was saying you can go to classrooms and stuff. And a few people were saying, well, if you try to, and I heard a parent afterwards say that they tried to, and I wonder if maybe he thinks they can, and maybe the teachers aren't letting, I don't know. But one thing he did say in the meeting is because of FERPA. And Stephanie's a lawyer, so she'd be able to explain what FERPA is. He said because of FERPA, you can't have a parent go in there and sit in a classroom all day. Because of FERPA. And he mentioned a hypothetical situation, which apparently has happened, where two students are getting into an argument and one of the parents is there. And there was a man who identified himself as an attorney. Forgive me, I do not recognize his, I don't remember the name. The voice
Steven Skolnick?
I do not know. The voice sounds very, very familiar, though. He was there, but he challenged Dr. Yearwood on that and said that actually is not a violation of FERPA. And the two of them had a discussion afterwards, right in front of me as I was getting ready to do the interview. So it was respectful. I know people had a lot of questions, and they were asking a lot of questions on the way out about, parents being able to go in the classroom. And overall, even though some were still upset, even though CRT didn't come up, they were happy he came to talk to the group. I mean, he stayed a lot longer than he was scheduled to.
And people were polite. Maybe a slight exception or two, but it wasn't like
correct. Correct.
Somebody might surmise based on what he has said here on this show, and based that he's a superintendent of a public school district that has falling test scores and that has numerous other problems. They're sued constantly. They have a lot of problems at that school district, and so you could imagine it'd almost be like he's showing up for the firing squad. And the Columbia Pachyderm's incredibly polite and graceful to Dr. Yearwood.
Yes, I agree with that. There were a couple interruptions, but the moderator and several other people said, let him finish. The only other thing, Brandon, that was brand new in there, again, not with this topic, the superintendent did announce, I think you were in the room when he said this, that the three suspects that were involved in the death of Ms. Forget, I think it
the 15-year-old girl?
Yes, over on McKee, Miss Moxley, forgive me if I mispronouncing her name. She was 15 years old, Aubrey Doxley, 15 years old. He said that those three suspects were students at CPS. He did say that. So there was a lot of information there, and I appreciated his time, and I know people were thankful, and they want to have him back.
So Friday, Boone County Mule Skinners, they met, and guess what they covered? Something we've been talking about for a long time. They specifically asked a couple of candidates whether or not they're saying, hey, listen, as a matter of fact, the Missourian picked this up, something we'd been on for a while here. Tanya Heath, David Seaman addressing concerns over splitting the progressive vote at Mule Skinners at the Mule Skinners meeting. After I'm sure they heard us talk about this here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Mule Skinners expressed concerns about Seaman and Heath splitting the vote, which would make it easier for the lone conservative candidate, Randy Minshew, to be elected. Reading straight from the Missourian now. Both Heath and Seaman confirmed receiving letters So they confirmed to me over a week ago, and I've told you, the one candidate who confirmed she did not get any letters, Barbara Buffalo, said she's not gotten any letters. Barbara Buffalo, incidentally, and I don't know if this makes any difference to you, but she is also backed by the Missouri and Kansas Laborers PAC. So that might change your mind a little bit, or not. I think people mostly know they're going to vote for Randy Minshew. And the political aspect, conservative, progressive, all that stuff aside, Randy Minshew, in my mind, the best candidate because of his business acumen and because of the requirements of the job of mayor in Columbia. It's absolutely Randy Minshew. And our second pick, we always got to mention Tanya Heath, but they covered this. And I thought they both gave very good answers. Heath had said, and even David Seaman, who served our country very well as a Marine, said, we're going to let the process play out. We're going to let the voters vote. We're not going to drop out. If the voter wants to vote for me, they will vote for me. And this idea that you would call, and I get it, it's politics, it's how the ball game works. You call for people to drop out, and hopefully it helps your cause. But they're saying, no, we'll let the voters decide that. Meanwhile, can you believe we're talking redistricting again, but this time in a specific city as it relates to the city council? We'll have that story coming up at 8:53 here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. My dad getting excited. Gary Nolan show getting ready to get underway.
Political opinion? We got your back. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
The truth is, I ran twice, I won twice, and I did much better the second time. And now, we just may have to do it again.
Trump over the weekend in Georgia. Maybe I'll run again. He keeps dangling that carrot out there. I wonder how that would be if he did run. I would be excited. Don't know if it would lead to victory for conservatives, because I think right now the bigger focus is on trying to get, listen, we have ours, they have theirs. What about the rest of the folks that are incredibly disappointed by what Biden is doing? As a matter of fact, I think Stephanie and I were going to do some pole dancing this morning, but the polls are no different, except they keep getting worse and worse for Joe.
They're terrible. And now, after his gaffe this weekend, people are saying, you know what, we kind of are worried about Russia hitting us with a nuke or hitting someone else in Europe with a nuke. Like, that 2 years ago was not a concern.
How bad is it? CNN, check this out.
Hello, I'm Dana Bash in Washington, where the State of our Union is, wondering if President Biden meant what he said. You're watching a special 2-hour edition of...
They extended the show by an hour so they could clean up what their president said. That's how bad it's getting. The poll numbers. We've had panels of regretful Biden voters, panels of independent regretful Biden voters. So we know it's universal. We know it's not good. And by the way, as we spent a lot of time with redistricting, this quickly from the Jefferson City newspaper, the News Tribune. The chairwoman of the Cole County Republican Central Committee criticized Jefferson City's ward redistricting efforts at a city council meeting this week, meaning last week. The chairwoman and 2 other committee members filed a lawsuit against the city in Cole County Circuit Court.
Yeah, so it not only affects the wards and like who you elect to your council person, but we elect our local political leaders. So the people on the central committee are elected in those wards. And so it's folks that were kind of involved in that process that are suing. And in Jeff City, the real issue is, do you count the prisoners? And my understanding is that when we did the state redistricting, when we did the Senate and the House, that you counted the people in the prison. And in Jeff City, for whatever reason, decided we're just going to leave those people out. And so one of their arguments in their lawsuit is, hey, you didn't count the prisoners. You need to count the prisoners. And if you did, then the districts are no longer equal. And that's one of the things. And you think about if you're representing someone, I mean, I assume those prisoners write letters and still need some constituent services and all of that. So if you're looking at kind of like the one man, one vote, unless there's a reason not to or a rule otherwise.
Last year, Boone County Lincoln Days, Caleb Rowden correctly predicted education would be the big thing that conservatives would need to campaign on and win on this year, and he has been right. And I'm wondering if coming up Friday, April 8th, next Friday for the Boone County Lincoln Days, which you can get tickets, search Boone County Lincoln Days online, if maybe this year the big thing is redistricting. Before we wrap up and make way for the Gary Nolan Show, I want to bring in good friend of ours, Mary Paulsell, Central Missouri honor flight. Been a while since we've seen you. Welcome in. Glad you could be here. And you come bearing some big news this morning.
Big news. Thanks for squeezing me in this morning. I know you're always very busy. We're back. Central Missouri honor flight is back. We're going back to Washington, D.C.
Yay.
And it's been a long 2+ years. Our veterans have waited patiently. But May 9th, we take off for D.C. for our 62nd flight. So please send in your applications. We're looking for volunteers and guardians. We're going to have a volunteer fair on Sunday, April 10 at 2 o'clock next door here at the Courtyard by Marriott Hotel. Even if you have volunteered in the past, please come. We have lots of new jobs for people to help us with. And veterans, please don't wait. I talk to so many who say, well, I'm going to wait till the guys who need to go sooner and so forth. This is the time. This is the year. We're going to clear this waiting list by the end of the year. That may mean one flight a month, but we're going to get it done because we've waited too long.
I hear there's a group of guys, the Dirty Half Dozen,
yes,
Steve
indeed.
and Butch and all them guys.
GB, all of them.
Oh, yeah, all of them. And every time we have lunch, they talk about the guys that are saying, oh, I'll wait. I don't want to go. Please go. This is absolutely, whether you serve peacetime, seaside, it doesn't matter. It is for you. What's the website? And if you want to be a volunteer, I've had an opportunity to be a guardian before. Wow, it is a memorable experience, and you're helping to create memories. Website real quick, Mary.
CentralMissouriHonorFlight.com, Guardian, Volunteer, and veteran applications are available there.
CentralMissouriHonorFlight.com. After 2 years, it's back. Thank goodness. So good to see you. Mary Paulsell.
Thanks.
Central Missouri Honor Flight. My dad loading up the computer. He's getting ready to click listen live on our website, 939theeagle.com, so you can listen to the Gary Nolan Show. See ya.
Bye.